Thanks, Edward. Can you just go to the next screen for me? While we are meeting today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the land which we each call home, wherever that might be. And I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territories of the Coast Salish people, and in particular the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations, whose traditional territory the Disability Foundation's affiliated societies, which includes Tetra, of course, are located. We do this land acknowledgement to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and improving our own understanding of local Indigenous people. Please join me in a moment of reflection. Thanks, everyone. We'll go to the next slide, and it is my honor to, you may have seen some things on social media. The Disability Foundation has a new executive director who, of course, is also overseeing Tetra. Graeme, thanks for taking time to join us here today.
Thank you, Eric, and welcome everyone to the 5th annual TetraCon. It's my privilege to be the executive director of the Disability Foundation. I have been with the Disability Foundation for over 10 years, for those of you who don't know me, in one capacity or another. I first started with the Vancouver Adapted Music Society in 2014, and then in 2021, I became a program manager looking after Tetra Society, the Disabled Independent Gardeners Society, as well as VAMS. I personally had firsthand experience seeing the impact that Tetra has on clients, our community, as well as the Disability Foundation's affiliated societies. My first experience with Tetra was with the Vancouver Adapted Music Society, where our accessible studio up at GF Strong has devices made by passionate Tetra volunteers, such as our guitar table for people who have limited arm movement, to be able to play the guitar, as well as a guitar strummer, say if someone's had a stroke and is only able to use one arm, as well as modified pianos for wheelchair users, and as another example could be trumpet stands. Another organization that I worked with Tetra volunteers quite closely was the Disabled Independent Gardeners Association, and I had the pleasure of working with George Shipley, Tetra volunteer George Shipley, before he passed away, when we would work together on modifying community garden beds, installing self-irrigation systems at our different locations. Another volunteer that I really enjoyed working with is Bob Potigo. He helped redesign our home gardening planter initiative with DIGA, or the Disabled Independent Gardeners Association. I'd also just like to give a big shout out to Eric, Sylvia, Jordan, and the whole Tetra team for the event that we're having today. And again, first and foremost, a big thank you to all the volunteers for their passion and dedication to Tetra and all the great work they do. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks very much for joining us, Graeme, and sharing your own stories. And it really is a reminder that our volunteers can make devices, obviously, for the individual, but also devices that that benefit the many. And so the planters that Graeme described, they enable somebody to use it right from their wheelchair or mobility device. And probably every major city has some type of rehab center, and out at GF Strong, we have a nice garden there, and there's workshops, and these planters are made by Tetra volunteers. So it really is a peaceful space as people are doing their rehab, and it can be used either as an inpatient or an outpatient. And certainly Graeme's modest, but in VAMS, they have, as far as we know, is the only fully accessible studio in Canada. And the Tetra volunteers have helped make devices throughout that. So all Tetra volunteers can be very proud that they definitely help all the societies throughout the foundation. So I just wanted to thank you again, Graeme, and you officially became the ED in November. So thank you for joining TetraCon here, and we look forward to many years of you guiding all the societies and helping us continue to grow. So thanks very much. But as Graeme alluded to, there are so many people that make Tetra what it is. Hopefully by now you know who I am, but there is a picture of me in a tie. So just so you know, sometimes I do dress up formally, but most importantly, I'd like to introduce you to the Tetra coordinators from the other regions, and I'll start with our national coordinator, who also oversees the central region, Sylvia Baliko.
Thanks, Eric. Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out. I look after the central region, which is currently Ontario, but soon to include Quebec, and I oversee the country. And I'm going to pass you off to my cohort, Crystal, who's out in the prairies.
Hi, everyone. My name is Crystal Yochko-Johnston. I'm the Prairie Regional Coordinator, as Sylvia mentioned, so I oversee Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba, and I'm located in sunny Winnipeg. Next on our list is Cheryl. I'll pass you over to her.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I'm the new Tetra BC Regional Coordinator. So happy to join the Tetra Society. And yeah, welcome to everyone. So I'll pass it on to Steve.
Hi, folks, from coast to coast. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Steve Trissoni. I'm the Atlantic Chapter Regional Coordinator, and I work with chapter coordinators in New Brunswick and Newfoundland and Labrador, Nova Scotia, and just starting in PEI. So thank you very much. I guess I'm the last one to present, and looking forward to today.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I do also want to thank, joining me in the room here is Edward Sim. And Edward is actually known the foundation for quite a while. He originally started working out with one of our affiliated societies many years ago, our adapted sailing program. And then actually 2 years ago over our holiday break, Edward said, I'd like to get back involved with the foundation. Is there a role? And I said, a matter of fact, there is. We are looking to expand into Quebec. So, Edward, if you can just poke your head on camera for a second. Edward's the one kind of admitting everybody into Zoom and trying to help me look good. He's set up the lighting here, so I appreciate that because I need all the help I can get. But Edward is helping us develop a chapter into Quebec, as I said. And so that is something that we've wanted to do for a long time. And hopefully by the end of March, when you click on the Tetra website, you will see that it's a bilingual website. You'll have the options to do either English or French. And this is, over the years, Sylvia has gotten requests for Quebec, but this is definitely the most formal we have tried to develop a chapter. And so it's very exciting. And as Edwards reminded me to say to everybody, you know, in any new initiative, we always welcome people's feedback. So let us know how the website works. And that's going to include projects in our online database. That's going to include volunteer forms, and that's going to also include, of course, submitting requests. So we really want all the things that you would use on the website to be usable and bilingual. So look for that. We'll make some more announcements on our social media as they happen. Again, I just wanted to comment, I see some notes in the chat. Some of you worked with George Shipley, and I just wanted to take a moment. There have been many supporters of Tetra throughout the years who have passed recently. And so I just wanted to thank everybody's contribution over the years for those who've contributed and are no longer with us, but we definitely still feel their impact. Can you, are we able to stop sharing just for a moment? I can already see myself on screen, so I don't want to stare too long at a picture of myself. I will mention that coming up in a couple of minutes, we actually got a sponsor for this TetraCon called Leafi at Home. So Will is going to be making a presentation around 10:30. And another thing I wanted to say is thank you to people who continue to join us online. And I see a number of our chapter coordinators that have joined us, and our board members and clients and different supporters. So again, thank you for joining us. And we're always looking for new ideas, new presentations. So at the end of TetraCon, by all means, feel free to send us feedback or ideas or things that you would like to see for next year. I can give a little history of why we decided to do this. I always want to emphasize Tetra is a national organization. And for those who might not know, it was started by Sam Sullivan, who, if that name sounds familiar, he was the mayor of Vancouver at one point. But long before he was mayor of Vancouver, he was a 19-year-old who broke his neck back in the 80s. And Sam realized, now I have to live with a disability. My physical abilities have changed, but my desires to do the things that I like to do haven't. And really the heart of Tetra, or that foundation of connecting with people and working together and collaborating on projects and removing those barriers, have never changed. And so, very early on, Sam realized if it was a benefit to him, it could be a benefit to many. And one of his first devices, ironically enough, I talked about Leafi at Home, and what they have is an automated system to make it much easier to open your blinds. And that, I just feel that's a very appropriate presentation coming up for today, because one of Sam's first requests, the number one was to be able to get into his fridge. We all need to eat. And then number two was to be able to open his blinds. And so Sam had to use a pulley system, because of course you couldn't stand up and reach the way to turn the blinds, or didn't have the fine motor skills to turn the little wand. So now people always ask, how has Tetra changed? And we're going to try and showcase some of that today through our community partners and our automated devices, and how Tetra has grown. And definitely one of the ways Tetra has changed is we've gotten a lot more projects from parents with disabilities. And so if you want to check out what Tetra has done, and sometimes I know it's hard to think about what is a customized device? What does that mean? What does that mean for me? So you can go to our online database on our website at tetrasociety.org. Sylvia's always really good at putting things in the chat. And on the main page, you can see our customized, I call it our Amazon of assistive devices, where we kind of showcase a sampling of what has been done, and our volunteers continue to submit and come up with things. But just to remind everybody, every great device, and we'll talk about how you ask for help a little later in the day, but every great device comes from a client themselves. So sometimes people might think that we have this warehouse with this conveyor belt and we make a plan to make 20 or so devices at a time. And really every device is custom made and starts when we get the ask for help. And it could be at a facility like Graeme was mentioning, or for an individual. I myself, it's kind of like that hair club for men line. I not only work for Tetra, but I've also benefited from their devices. So as you're watching today, whether you're a coordinator or whether it's a device for a facility that could benefit many, hopefully you leave with a better idea of what Tetra is all about, and don't be shy to put in your request. I'm just wondering, is Will in the chat currently? Oh, okay. So we are slightly ahead of time, so he's going to join at 10:30. In case anybody is wondering, this will give me a chance. Can you just screen share the agenda for the rest of today, Edward? And I'll just go over the agenda and we'll kind of highlight some different presentations, because maybe there might be some interest for people in some presentations over others. So again, at 10:30 is going to be our sponsor, Leafi at Home. And that's a home-based business. So Will did this off of his own passion. And then we have at 11 o'clock, Steve Trisoni, who you met, who had the best picture of us holding that accordion. He is going to, our Atlantic coordinators, and Dr. Leonard Lye is going to be talking about the shooting table that was created for a competitive athlete in competitions. So that's something that Tetra never ceases to surprise me. As we were introducing the team, I did want to say, everybody on the screen has worked for Tetra for multiple years. I've been around a long time, and Sylvia has joined me throughout that journey of 20 years plus. And Crystal has been involved for over 5 years. And Steve started out as a chapter coordinator and then became a regional coordinator. And if Cheryl's voice and name is familiar to you, it's because she has been recruiting Tetra volunteers for the organization since 2020. So as you kind of hear our voices and things, we are very passionate about this organization, and that's a credit to you, our clients, and of course our volunteers that play a part in that. So after the presentation from Dr. Leonard Lye and Steve and the other people involved in that project, then we're going to have a break. It may not be a full half an hour, but we will have a slideshow kind of Tetra through the years on the break. And then of course, you can always, if you have to step away from the TetraCon, you can sign out and then sign back in, because you have registered. And then we're going to have a presentation from Right at Home and how you can continue to live in your home as you might have mobility issues or aging, right? That's one of the things we all have in common, is we're all getting older. As I see pictures myself, I know I'm definitely getting older. So we can learn about how, from Right at Home, about how we can stay in our homes and aging at home and keeping our independence. And then something that Tetra is always happy to do is collaborate. And so there's going to be a presentation from Humanity, and you'll get to meet our Winnipeg chapter coordinator that works closely with Crystal, and a really exciting project that they collaborated on. And then of course, very fitting, because the whole reason why we're able to do this virtual conference is through technology, and Ian Price, who I've gotten to know well, who's very active in the disability community and has been his whole life. He'll be joining us from Kelowna and talking about technology for independent living, and getting to preview Ian's presentation, we have some cool things. So from 12 to 12:30, we have a presentation, then from 12:30 to 1, and then from 1 to 1:30. So as you can see, we have kind of back-to-back presentations after the lunch break. And just to remind everybody who's signing in, if you saw the original agenda online, we're not going to do the Tetra trivia because everybody who has registered and attended will be getting a gift card on behalf of Tetra. Now, I will say that that's not gonna go to myself or coordinators or those who work for us, but those who have attended, look for an email following the conference, providing a gift card. So can you just click on the chat there for me, Edward? I want to see if there's any other questions. And is everybody hearing me okay? Am I speaking too loud? Am I speaking at a good level? All right.
I would love it louder.
A little louder?
That'd be great.
Okay. Is this better? If I speak at this level, I'll do my best.
It seems the system's a little bit quiet overall.
Okay.
I've got my phone volume cranked right to the top, and it's not quite making it for me.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind, because thank you for those who are joining us on their phones, and I see in the chat we have somebody joining us from South Carolina. So, and that reminds me, that's a good reminder too. Our full name is Tetra Society of North America, and the reason why that is we have volunteers that have done projects in Utah. We have a volunteer there that has his own software company and has done projects. And in the past, I showcased a sip and puff project that he made for a young boy that didn't have any hand function, and he used sip and puff. Some of you may be familiar with that for driving a wheelchair. Well, this was designed so that he could use a train set. He had this lovely train set, and it ran on sip and puff, and he could make that run around the track. And then we've had a long time Tetra coordinator, Russ Weir, and Russ has done a variety of different projects, including he created a machine where a person in a wheelchair could come up to it and press a button, and they could either launch baseballs or footballs. The machine was set up so that they could play catch out in the park. So it's awesome that people are joining us from the States, and we are, most of our chapters are in Canada, but we do have work and certainly consult down in the States. And if you live in an area, like for example, Nanaimo or somewhere where you don't see a chapter, then we can still virtually help you. I'll call on Sylvia here for a moment. She has many examples of where she has coordinated with her volunteers in Ontario and still helped completed projects in places where we might not have a coordinator, but we can still help you. So, Sylvia, would you mind giving an example? I know you've helped complete some projects virtually.
Definitely. We have a virtual chapter up in Thunder Bay, which is the north end of Ontario. They just completed a really cool sled for a child up there, and we received a request 2 weeks later in the middle of Ontario, where we currently do not have a chapter, to create a similar sled for a school so that children with disabilities could use it. And the couple there wanted to actually build the sled. However, they didn't know how to go about it. They donated the cost of shipping it, so they built it in Thunder Bay, and it was shipped to the middle of Ontario. So there's a lot of projects we're using the skills of many volunteers in the province, even across the country. And we just had volunteer join up in Toronto. He used to be a volunteer in Edmonton, Cody. He is now working on just sports projects, and he can be utilized with anybody across the country, actually. and he just did a couple of hockey sticks for the power team in Toronto. So sharing our skilled volunteers, many who are here with us today. We really appreciate it, so that we can fill all the gaps between the chapters in the country.
And if you're wondering, so you could also meet with a volunteer, on Zoom if it is virtual, and our volunteers can do great things just by getting measurements, and we will, and that reminds me, Tetra is by donation. So as you hear these awesome devices being created, that was another thing that has always stayed the same, is when Sam started Tetra, he himself had a limited income, and so Tetra was started again to remove barriers. So as you hear about the stuff being built, don't let costs be a reason to not submit a request or reach out to Tetra. We would like to see you have a device that meets your needs. Can you just stop sharing the agenda there, Edward? We'll go back to speaker view, just so I can say hello to people. So I'm just wondering if Will has logged in, because he's scheduled to come up in 2 minutes here. So hopefully he can join. But there is another person I want to thank while I have a moment, and he's very good at staying off camera, even though he is in our communications. Jordan, I was wondering if you wouldn't mind saying hello, because of course you are the person that does a lot of posting on our Facebook, and have sent out the invitation on the Eventbrite that you see. So if you're there, Jordan, I just wanted to introduce you as well, because you oversee Tetra's communications.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jordan. I'm the development manager for the Disability Foundation, which includes Tetra. I oversee the communications as well as the fundraising. Very excited to have everybody here today. We're just waiting on Will to join us. Hopefully that will be shortly. I will follow up with him and make sure we can introduce our sponsor. We're very grateful to have them joining us this year, and look forward to hearing what he has to say. I'll send it off back to you, Eric.
All right. Well, thanks. Jordan helped put together all the content you see here today, and I noticed on the slide where we all had our picture, he didn't put one of himself. So I didn't want Jordan to think that he wasn't going to get a chance to say who he was. So while we're waiting on for our presenter, Steve, I just wanted to follow up with you, because you're Steve Trussoni. You're one of the newer regional coordinators of Tetra, and you briefly said hello, but you in your picture you had an accordion there, and that's pretty cool. And I was wondering, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of the story of that. And I talked about how you started out as a Tetra coordinator, but let us know as we're waiting for Will, just a little bit about yourself and your own background.
Yeah, well, thanks very much, Eric, for that. Well, my mother always wanted me to play the accordion at family picnics. She wanted me to stand up on top of a picnic table and play away, and everybody have a good time. So anyway, I eventually got one, but I never did the standing on top of the picnic tables, but I've had a lot of fun with the accordion, entertaining my grandkids and kids and stuff as they grew up. I just kind of hack away at the accordion, but I did study piano and such. And that was my field, and I got into education and taught for most of my career at a school for the blind, the Sir Frederick Fraser school for the blind visually impaired. And yeah, I've spent 36 years there, and then I went on to retirement.
All right. Well, and in that retirement, you got to join us. I thank you for that, Steve. I see now that Will, our sponsor, has joined us.
Good.
So I'll go to Will to introduce him and his presentation. But as you've seen, everybody, throughout the day, I will try and definitely introduce more people involved with Tetra, so you can put a face behind the names. So, Edward, if you can spotlight Will, that would be great. All right. Hello, Will. You're just on mute. We just can't hear you right now. So you might need to connect through a different audio source.
Checking. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Now,
perfect.
Now we can hear you. So Will, what I'm going to do is we're going to put on screen kind of the name of your company, and
wow.
I was fortunate enough to been introduced to you by Ian Price, and you have a very unique story and things you're trying to develop. So we have, just so you know, we have the name of your company on the screen, and why don't we? How did you come up with this idea of what you're creating? What made you passionate to try and develop this?
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. Super excited to be here to share my story. Yeah, maybe just a quick one-liner. So at Leafi, like, we make this solution that makes it super easy to adjust window blinds that are hard to reach. So the story goes back a few years ago. You know, I took a lot of things for granted myself because I don't have any physical disability. But it started to change after seeing my wife carrying the baby. It was really hard for her to reach some window blinds around our townhouse. And then that daily chore that was simple to me, it's not so simple for her. And it's certainly not so simple for my friend who was in a wheelchair at the time. And I mean, he couldn't even reach the window blinds. And then he was fully independent before his injury, but after that, he had to ask his partner for help with like little things around the house, you know. So that's how everything got started, Eric. Yeah.
And then, as I was explaining just before you joined, this has been a long time challenge and continues to be for people with disabilities, including myself. So,
right.
Talk about kind of your development and what you've created, and how can people? Do you want to show us your website, or is
yeah. Actually, let me just go over that. I actually just prepared a very short, like a minute-long video to show what it looks like, because I think it might be interesting to have some visual. So like the story started from there, and then my background, I'm an engineer. I graduated from UBC, and then I like to solve problems, you know. And then I realized, started to think there must be a solution. And what if there's something that, you know, that adds on to existing window blinds, and you can remotely control from your phone app, setting a schedule, or even use your voice? Because I talked to a lot of people, and I realized window blinds are everywhere. And then being in a wheelchair, there must be some that are hard to reach around the house, but you want to let in the sunlight. It might be in your bedroom. You want to just wake up with sunshine. Or it may be a plant in the living room not getting enough sunlight, or it could be just in your office, you're getting this annoying screen glare every day. And then I started to build my first alpha prototype, started to show people, and that's when I got connected with Technology for Living. And I remember I had this ugly prototype, went into their office trying to show them what I'm trying to build. And then they already used some of our competitors' product from before. So immediately got some good feedback on how to make the product better for the community. And then throughout that whole journey, we were deeply involved and gratefully to work with peers from Technology for Living. Like we included a lot of their feedback in this whole design process. And personally, I believe a very inclusive design process is very much necessary to build a product, a technology product that really make a difference for the end user. And then, so that whole process has, product development has been, I have a message, Eric, on my screen says somebody entered the waiting room. Should I click admit?
You don't have to. We'll do that for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you see that, just ignore that. Well, but thank you for asking.
Okay. No worries. Yeah. So that was like 3 years in the journey from having this vision, this idea to build something that's affordable, easy to add on, anyone can use. And then went through like hundreds of 3D printing. We were fortunate enough to go through a startup incubator program with University of British Columbia. That's where I graduated from. And then we were went through the New Venture BC program to kind of support how we grow as a startup, because we don't have a lot of money. It's a grassroots play, like bootstrapping a lot of that. And then we're very excited. I'm very proud of the team that we're now shipping this product to anywhere in Canada and US. Started a few months ago. And then without further ado, let me show you this quick video. Can I share screen, Eric?
Now you can.
Okay, all right. Let me just try to find the button here. Give me 1 second. All right. Okay, share screen. Captions. Where is the screen sharing button in Zoom? I haven't used this for a while. Right here in the middle.
Yeah, it's in the middle. It should be on our computer. It's green, so it should be the green button.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So now here I'm sharing my screen. I don't know if the voice, the audio will come through, but
when you share your screen, and you press share, there will be an option that says share with sound in the thing that pops up.
Okay.
On the right side. So make sure you check that box.
Okay, let me see. Let me try it one more time. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah, right side underneath the layouts under options. Just click share sound.
Right hand side under list and layout. Options. I don't see the options, but I'll click share. Oh, okay. Share sound. Got it. All right. Yeah, that will be more fun with sound. All right. Here. So, okay. Hope everyone can see the screen right now. I'm just going to click the play button. Sorry, Eric, were you saying something?
Some people were saying it's just a bit loud.
Oh, it's too loud. Oh, sorry.
So if you, we can see the picture, but if you can just turn it down a little bit, that would be great.
Yeah. I will do it. Okay. So
thanks, Will. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for the feedback. Thank you. It's my first time doing this, so
yeah.
I had to learn. Good feedback. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna click play again. Whoops. I don't know what happened. Sorry. I'll just turn it off.
Yeah, sure, because then as this is playing, I
Yeah.
can ask you some questions, because I know for myself, anytime I purchase something, installation is a real concern. How hard is it to install? And as the video is playing, or after this finished, maybe you can talk about the assembly and how easy that is, and what makes it work.
Yeah, definitely, I will. Yeah, so
Because it looked like it blends in with the blinds, quite an easy solution, but let us know, and it looks like you can use it with your phone.
totally. Yeah. So let's talk about installation first, and I can just use what on my video here to explain. So right now, this product, it supports any window blinds that has a tilt vent. So like what you see here in the picture, regardless whether it's a metal window blinds or wooden one, as long as it's horizontal window blinds that's controlled by a tilt vent, we can replace the tilt vent, and then we can control the tilt angle. And then the reason why we did it that way instead of going controlling the up and down, this will make the product a lot more affordable, but it gets 80% of the job done while keeping an extra level of privacy and granularity that you can adjust through the tilt angles, right? And then, so the whole process involves no tools, and then literally just like clicking a few things through. It's as simple as, it's almost as simple as putting your phone on a selfie stick. That's kind of like the idea to clamp it on. You can also move it to different window blinds after the installation. It's also very easy to uninstall. Let me skip to a couple steps. So after you remove the hook or the wand, we have our proprietary design, like a little adapter. It comes with two, because window blinds manufacturers are notorious for industry standards, no industry standard. And to simplify the process, instead of like our competitor who includes like 10 adapters, we just have two, and we know that works after hundreds of tests. So it's either a hook or a loop that goes onto your window blinds. And then we have this bracket, which is our patented design. This bracket is almost like a zip tie. You just push up to tighten it. It includes a special material that actually holds on to your window blinds really tight. And I think it's worth to mention whether the window blinds is inside like a frame, like an inside mount or outside mount. This always works. We just need like 3 millimeter gap on the top of the window blind's headrail to the wall or the ceiling. That's all we need. And the 3 millimeter is pretty much 99% of the time you do have that space on the top to slide in the bracket. And once this bracket is in place, the next step is double check, and you just wiggle it left and right. It's designed to hold very tight when it goes left and right, but when you pull forward or backward, it might come off very easily. That's because the mechanism of window blinds, how it works, and then we make it easy to install. And then you put in your original balance back, so we don't alter the look of it. And then here comes the main unit, which has the battery, the motor, the wireless module, everything is in there. So when the main unit slides up, the middle part actually has a clever designed magnet that helps the installation process. Just slide right in. You slide all the way as high as you want, and then cover it. That's the whole process. You don't need to do any wiring, and you don't see any wires, and that's why the look blends in to the window, to your home seamlessly. One other thing is the battery life. It is USB rechargeable. A single charge will last about 10 to 12 months, and it will open and close the window blind for you. You control it through your phone. We have a mobile app. It also it's certified with Alexa and Google smart speakers, so you can control using your voice. You can say, open my bedroom blinds or close my bedroom blinds anytime. And if you have a schedule set up, it can synchronize with the sunrise, sunset. So in the winter time and summertime, it will automatically change the scheduled time based on the sunrise, sunset. So there's a lot of features that we developed in the software to really allow the user experience such that you can set it and forget it, and you can really be independent control whenever you want to open and close the window blinds and let in the sunlight. Yeah.
For myself, well, I'm not, as my colleagues will attest, I'm not an overly technical person. So the physical install looks simple. But if somebody needs a walkthrough of how to connect it to their phone, and they've ordered a unit, is there somebody to help with that tech part of it?
Yes, totally. And that would be me and my team. Like we're super obsessed about the user experience per se. Like anyone who's going through that process, we're happy to set up a phone call or a Zoom chat just to go through that process together. It's also very important for us to learn if there's any hurdles that we should consider to improve in our product on the next iterations of our software. So yeah, so if anyone ordered from our website, we reach out to you actually on a day when the product arrives, and then hopefully everything goes smoothly. But if not, then we're right there, just one text message or one email away.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I heard you say that you can select or program times throughout the day. So yeah. Once it's in there, and then does it do it automatically? Like if I wanted them open every day at 7:30, is that something I could program in through my phone?
Yes. I'm gonna stop sharing the screen. Yes. So let me see. I'm not sure if the camera can show what I have on my phone. So here I have. Oh, perfect. You can see it. So you can see this is our app. Right now I have 4 schedules in my household, like in the mornings, in the evenings. And when you create these schedules, you can select whether you want to, it looks like the words are backwards because of the camera, probably. But you can select.
It looks good on this end.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it does look good on the screen, though, so just keep going.
Okay. It's just for me. Yeah, I'm looking like everything is backwards on
It's
my.
because for you, it's like looking in a mirror, but it looks good for us.
Okay, that's perfect. For 1 second, I'm like, oh no, what happened to our software? Yeah, no, yeah. So
can I ask? That's a fascinating product, and there's a lot of blinds. And how does it feed back for open and close? Does it measure the power of the torque type thing, or do you got to set it up when you first hook it up?
Oh yeah, so there when you first set it up, there's a calibration process. So yeah, very simple. Basically, in our app, it will guide you through step by step to move the window blinds up and down to the open and close position. And then our electronics will be able to remember that. And then we actually do some compensation because not every window blind is the same. Some window blind has a lot of slack. Like sometimes you might be turning it a few turns, but it's actually not moving when you change direction. So things like that, we have to gather that information, kind of learn about your window blinds when you go through the first calibration process. And then, yeah.
No, it's a good job. And my name is Jason Sparrow. I didn't sign up. I work at a company in St. John's, Newfoundland called DF Barnes Fabrication. And I'm waiting for another coworker, Simon Bonesteel, to get on.
Simon is on.
Okay, we got involved.
I know him. No worries.
Through the helping design a wheelchair table for the girl here, Claire McCarthy, for shooting.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so I got people going in the background, people here, so I'll just mute this now and holler at me if you need anything, but I'll be here listening. Nice meeting you.
Thank you. Great questions.
So, and Will, you mentioned it runs on battery. And one of the banes of my existence is having to replace batteries. I don't think I've ever been able to do it once without dropping some of the batteries on the floor that I wanted to use. So remind us, how long does the battery last on the unit?
So the battery lasts between 10 to 12 months right now, and then we are improving that. So here I can grab a unit just to show what it's like. So this is the whole unit, and you can charge. There's a USB-C port down here. It's rechargeable, and then you charge it for 6 hours, and this whole thing will drive your window blinds every day for 10 to 12 months. And then going forward in the future, we have a plan to add a solar panel that plugs into the back here. So the electronics that works with solar panel are already built in. We just need to add a very cheap, just the panel itself. And then it's designed to harvest power even under cloudy conditions like in Canada. So all of that with the solar panel could potentially keep this guy charged throughout the whole year, throughout the winter time, and then probably don't have to touch it anymore once that is in place.
Are these for sale right now?
Exactly, yes. And then you can get them from our website. I'll leave it in the chat later, leafihome.com. And then we have inventory ready to ship next day within 40 hours. And then we ship anywhere within Canada and USA.
I will. I put the website up already for you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You are in the chat. So if everybody just scrolls through the chat, Edward, can you click on the chat? I just want to see if there's any other questions for Will. I want to make sure that I'm not asking them all, but hopefully everybody can see, and we can, again, if anybody has any questions, you can either email me, Jordan, or any one of the Tetra staff, and we can also send you information about any of the presenters today. Is there any phones that this doesn't work with? Is there any chance if somebody buys one, is there have you come across any phones?
Right.
Maybe there's some old Blackberries out there, I don't know, but where people have said it doesn't work with my phone. Have you come across that?
So we work with majority of iPhone and Android phones. And then, so I think the very older ones, if your phone is on iOS 16 or older, we're not compatible yet. But I think like 80% of the iPhones today are iOS 17 or newer, just in terms of the operating system, and the same thing with Android. And then again, if anything, worst case, if the product you purchase doesn't work for you, you don't like it, we have a 30-day worry-free return policy. Then we'll cover all the shipping to return and then refund you 100%. So there's no obligations to just give it a try. And for a special one-time deal for TetraCon, we're offering 15% discount for today. And all you have to do is just like email me and I'll give you the instructions how to get that discount. Yeah, we would love to help people to give it a try.
Okay, so, well, that's very generous of you. Sylvia, can you make sure you put that discount in the chat? So 15%, and then people would just say, hey, saw you at TetraCon.
Yep, that's all you have to do. And I will leave my email in the chat. Hope everybody gets to see it.
And then there is a question here. How do you manage reaching the unit to install, as well as the challenge? So the challenge of install and the challenge of plugging in the charger. So, like, if I'm in a wheelchair, I mean, obviously you need someone to help you to install it in a higher place. And then, are you able to recharge it from a sitting position?
Got it. So so the question is about when you charge it, how do you do it if it's high above? Two ways from some of the users. You can easily remove this whole thing with the help from others, charge it and put it back. It's just like a power bank for your phone. Think of it that way. And it's just hanging there, and then to remove it, you just hold the buttons, it will slide off, and then once it's done, you slide up. Another way many of our users do is just run a longer cord up, just plug it in, and leave it for overnight, and then remove the cable. That also works as well. Yeah.
Awesome. And then one more question here before our next presenter. Are you developing for vertical blinds as well?
Great question. That will be our next product. We're working on like future ones.
Well, see, there you go, Will. You've gotten some very positive feedback, and people
Thank you.
people already have ideas for your next.
I know.
Your next prototype. So
thank you. We'll take beta testers once that's ready.
Yeah. So again, the website's in the chat. A 15% discount to everybody who's attended today. As Will said, this is his passion project. So if you need help, he'll talk to you directly. And I also want to thank Will for not only making the presentation, but again, being our sponsor today.
Thank you for this opportunity. There are two questions that I'll quickly answer. So one says, does it go partially open and close? Yes, you can go anywhere in between, like from closing up or closing down or open. Second question, does it not lift up or down? Correct. Right now, this product only controls the tilt angle of each slate. It doesn't move it all the way up and down. And then that keeps the product a lot more affordable because we don't have to consider the size of the window that much. It doesn't have too much power requirement. And then also allow the battery to last a lot longer. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Will. I want to, and I will mention that Will also collaborated with Ian Price in Technology for Independent Living, and in this design did get feedback from users in the disabled community, which leads us to our next presenter. And speaking of collaboration, I'd like to reintroduce Steve Trussoni, the Atlantic Regional Coordinator, and he's going to talk about a very special project that was done by volunteers in Newfoundland. So, Steve, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, our project that we're going to talk about today is from Newfoundland. It was started in March of 2021 and finished in 2023, but then picked up again and finally finished in June of 2024. I call it a tale of two tables. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to introduce our panel here. Let me see. Let me get onto that. Yes, first of all, I'd like to welcome Claire McCarthy. She was our client for this project. Claire is a second-year student at Memorial University of Newfoundland and Labrador. She is completing a Bachelor of Science with a major in psychology and a minor in biology. Claire is the recipient of the Memorial University Entrance Scholarship for Academic Performance, the Boyce Taylor Award for Compassionate Action from Holy Heart of Mary High School, and named to the Faculty of Science Dean's List for 2023-2024. Claire is a member of the Newfoundland and Labrador High Performance Team and one of the top shooting parasport athletes in Canada. She has participated in events at the provincial, national, and international levels. In May 2023, Claire competed at the International Shooting Competition of Hanover, Germany, against athletes from across the globe in both world shooting parasport 10-meter prone and standing events. More recently, Claire competed in the Canadian Rifle National Championships this past August in both 10-meter air rifle, standing and prone disciplines, as well as the 50-meter, maybe that's millimeter, small bore, 3-position and prone disciplines, finishing first in her category, which is SH1. All right. Let me move on to our next guest, and that is Dr. Leonard Lye. Dr. Leonard Lye is a professor emeritus at Memorial University of Newfoundland. Before retirement, he was a professor of civil engineering and former associate dean. Leonard established the Newfoundland chapter of the Tetra Society in 1996. For the last 28 years, Leonard has been personally involved with practically all aspects of every project designed and made by the Society. For his long and dedicated work with the Tetra Society and people with disabilities, Leonard received the Canadian Association of Occupational Therapists Citation Award, the Memorial University Glen Roy Blunden Award, Recreation Newfoundland Occupational Therapist Recreation Newfoundland Bridging the Gap Award, and Tetra Society's Lifetime Achievement Award. He is now happily retired, but still volunteers and supervises students working on Tetra projects, playing and teaching pickleball and the ukulele, and also is the chair of the Tetra Board of Directors. And now I'll move on to Simon Bonesteel. Simon is an accomplished project manager with a solid foundation in mechanical engineering, having earned his degree from Memorial University in 2016. He brings extensive experience across multiple sectors, including power generation, mining, structural, and public works. His professional background includes senior roles with DF Barnes Fabrication and Torngate Services, where he excelled in operational improvements and staff management. I don't want to neglect mentioning then also, I believe we have present Bob McCarthy. That would be Claire's father. Okay, so let me move on to see if I can get my screen open here a bit so I can see who's here. Aha. Okay, so we've got Simon, Leonard, Claire, and father's probably listening. Okay, I get it. Very, very good. Claire, could I ask you, what got you interested in shooting competitively?
I first tried the sport at Easter Seals. I think it's been about 6 or 7 years ago now, and I just fell in love with it. It was really fun, and I was good at it, so I just started pursuing it, and the opportunities opened up for me to be able to try it competitively, and I've stuck with it since.
Well, that's great. Was your father also involved in shooting?
Yeah, he's been my supporter since I've started. He's the one who's been driving me to practice, helping me out as part of coaching and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be able to do this without him. Yeah.
Fantastic. So why did you decide to reach out to Tetra?
Well, in my sport, for certain positions, I need something, as we say, like the shooting table, just to make my position very stable. And so we decided to reach out just to have this, see if this is something they could build for us. And they did, and it ended up very well.
Well, yeah, Dr. Lye, Leonard, would you lay out the problem that Claire came to you with in the request for assistance, and just how you and your Memorial University Tetra student volunteers solved it?
Yeah, so when we got the request, I think that was 2021, luckily at that time we had 2 work term students with us working on various projects. So one of the first thing was trying to make an arrangement, because at that time was during COVID, right? You can see everybody's wearing masks. So they came in and we had to do, well, obviously we don't know anything about shooting, especially from a wheelchair. So we need to figure out what the needs were, and we need to do measurements like the height of the table, the size of the table, and we found out that there's all various specification based on the sport. So you can see that we're doing all kinds of measurements to make sure that we are designing and coming up with something that is according to specification and something that will be that's what they need. So yeah, so the students came up with the design and we got it fabricated in our workshop or tech services. Took a while, like I said, because of COVID. Some parts were 3D printed, some parts were machined in a machine shop, and some parts were made in my basement, like the wooden part, right? Things like that. So we put it together, then we try it out again. Well, we have to go through several rounds, obviously. It's just like any good design, we go various iteration. So this is one of the very first one. After she tried it, we found that it needs to be more stable. Then we added a stabilizer, as you can see, a crossbar there. And so I think that was the first one that was used in the competition. But obviously, things can be improved. I think they found that it was a little bit heavy to carry around because they have to travel, they do, air travel and things like that. So it needs to be a bit more robust and lighter. So just about that time, I think I got a email from a former student who happened to be the vice president at DF Barnes offering their services. And so I said, that's a great idea. They have all the high-tech equipment. And again, so we basically, like I said, this COVID time, so things move a bit slower. And also they were waiting for a brand new machine to come in. And this was one of the few projects that was made by the brand new multi-million-dollar machine, I heard. So it's really, really high-tech stuff. And I think Jason, Simon, they were involved. Jason is here, by the way. Yeah, and
I wanted to ask
they did
if I could.
3D scanning and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting work.
Yeah, thanks, Leonard. I just wanted to ask Simon to come in on this then. But first, Claire, I wanted to ask you. There were a couple of problems with the first table in that it was too heavy. Is that correct? When you were trying to transport it to competitions?
Yes, that is correct, because I have to travel with it. And so, of course, there's certain weight limits when you can take things in suitcases and stuff or when traveling. So that was one of the main things that we needed to improve upon, was to see if there was a way to take off some of the weight. And also, there was a little small thing with the stability of the table. It was very well done, but that was another thing that needed to be improved upon a little bit. And with this new table, it definitely got improved upon.
Okay, well, there you go. So, Simon, could you give us a little run through of what the part that you played in assisting your company?
Sure. So we had taken the table that was originally that came to us, and we were originally going to maybe just make some modifications to it, but upon kind of more examining further, we realized that, what we probably should do is just make a table from scratch based on our own ideas and our ability to execute. So we decided to do that. We actually, it's on the screen there now, those clamps. That was the original thought, that we were just going to kind of do these clamps, but luckily for us and for Claire, for everybody, I think it was great that we actually just took on the full project and were able to execute the full table. So we took it kind of from a ground floor level in terms of design, and we did our research based on other tables that are out there, the professional shooters from all across the world. We looked at how they were setting up these types of tables, and went into a concept phase, design phase, and then eventually came up with a final product.
Okay. So let's see. So what effect, Claire, has the new table, this second iteration, had on your competitive shooting then thus far? Because you've been in a competition with it, I believe.
Yes, I was able to take it with me when I went to nationals in August of last year. It was much easier to travel with, very easy to assemble. It held my position very stable, which is very key in this sport, making sure there's no like external factors that can affect your shooting. So it just really helped with in every aspect. Yeah.
Well, okay, so this picture we've got up now is a really good one. I think that I just wanted to ask a couple questions. First of all, what is the SH1 category?
The SH1 category is one of the different types of classifications for athletes with disabilities. So in the SH1 category, as a shooter, it means that I require no assistance and no backrest when my shooting. As you can see in this photo, there is like nothing on my back. I'm not leaning against anything. I'm just sitting in my chair. So that's what that means. And there's different classifications depending on the different levels that people may need assistance. Yeah.
So when you're competing, the competitions are all with other para shooters. Is that correct? Or is it a mixed kind of a thing? Can you, as an SH1 competitor, compete with the whole field of non-disabled and disabled, or is it this just one rank of many in everyone participating together?
In this photo here, it was everyone was shooting together, but everyone is not ranked together. The sport is separated by men and women. So while the men and women are shooting together on this line, they're not all scored together. As well, as an athlete with a disability, I'm not ranked with those who don't have disabilities. But I'm still shooting along with everyone here in this line. Yeah.
Righto. Okay, I'd like to ask if there's any questions from anyone here, listening, watching. So let's open up to questions.
I'll give other people an opportunity as well, but I definitely have questions. Now, when you're competing, I assume if you're in competition, how often do you get to compete with other people with disabilities? How popular has shooting become? Like, do you go to other competitions around the country and participate where you are classified and get to compete against other people with disabilities?
It definitely depends on where you go to for the competitions. Typically, internationally has a lot more like athletes with disabilities to compete against. Unfortunately, there's not that many in my classification in Canada. But yeah, it honestly entirely depends on where you go to compete, because there's different levels like everywhere. In Europe, there were, as you could see in the photos, there were quite a lot of competitors with disabilities for me to compete against. Unfortunately, in Canada, I haven't found the same. But I think the sport is growing in popularity. I know some people who are shooting it not competitively, but they're still interested in the sport and just something to do, which is always great to have too.
And when was part of the design, because I'm sure in competitions, we may have other athletes joining us, and I know like in bocce competitions or other competitions, any equipment has to be by a certain specification. So this table that looks amazing that you had made, did you have to get that cleared by the organizers of major competitions and events?
Yeah, I did. Before a competition, there's always people who have to check through like different equipments and give it different tests, make sure it follows all rules and regulations. So that was another thing that we had to take into account when building this table, is making sure that it followed all like the required parameters to fit between and stuff like that. So yes, it did have to be checked out by people running the event and making sure that it was up to code. Yeah.
And is it something that you can completely install yourself?
I can install parts of it myself, but usually my dad will assist me, especially for competitions, you know, just to make sure that it's like very secure, very stable. He'll like help me when I have to put it together.
Well, I ask because I have cerebral palsy, so I struggle with balance. So in seeing your table, it's inspiring, because if I was to do shooting, I would definitely need something to lean on to help steady. And you know, it's great to hear that the sport is growing. And in using this table, have you found that your own confidence has grown as you're competing, and it's helped improve your scores?
I do think so, yes, because as I was saying before, one thing you really need to try to take into account, especially in this prone position, which is what's on the screen there, you don't want any external factors affecting your shots. So the stability of the table has really helped with my shooting, you know. I know that if something goes awry, it's something that I can fix, and I know it has nothing to do with the table, so I don't need to think about that, which is always really good because you've got a lot going on, so you don't want to have any extra things to think about.
And this is my last question, I guess. How long do you train, and what are some of your athletic goals that you have in these competitions? What's your ultimate goal for yourself?
I don't know. I mean, right now I've just been really looking to try to compete a bit more, being able to travel to different competitions. I train 3 to 4 times a week for 2 hours. And so, yeah, that time is just spent looking to build upon my skills so that I can travel more and compete more, you know?
Well, that would be great. And I guess the last question, have you outscored, sorry, I don't know the proper terminology when referring to a shooting score, but have you outscored somebody with a non-disabled person?
Yes, I have. But again, it does depend, you know, there's different levels of this sport in skill wise and technique. And so I have outperformed a few people, but it really doesn't matter that much because you are also competing with yourself and trying to improve upon yourself. And yeah, it really does depend.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing your story. And yeah, I just asked that last question just to show how much a barrier has been removed for you to participate. I see Sylvia has a question as well.
Hi, Claire. I think it's fantastic what you're doing. My question is, do you have sponsorship, or is this something that you and your family just have to take on?
This is something that me and my family take on. We do get some grant money, not that much, but we do get some grant money throughout the year for travel and stuff like that. But yeah, this is something me and my family take on. Yeah.
Hey, thanks.
And thanks, Steve, for helping facilitate this. And again, Claire, thanks for telling your story, and everybody who was part of this project. I should mention that adaptive sporting projects is nothing new to you, Dr. Leonard Lye. You've done a number of hockey gloves. You've done one to help out with archery, and now adaptive shooting. And one of the adaptations that Dr. Leonard Lye did was actually featured in a local Hockey Heroes book. volume 3. So some of the devices that Dr. Leonard Lye has done has actually been featured in a book that's out now as well. So I'm just curious, Dr. Lye, can you speak on, because I've seen you design things to help people shoot archery and use a bow. Was the design for the table similar, or how did this project differ from some other adaptive sporting designs that you've done?
Yeah, I think the archery one is basically we needed a frame that is stable. So basically we had a platform with a frame so that the wheelchair go on the platform that keeps everything stable, and the frame holds on to the bow. So we have done it for just traditional bow, and we also have a compound bow that we have designed for that is adjustable in height and also in direction. It depends on the disability, right? So the first few projects with archery was for Easter Seals. They have a archery program, so that's what we did. Yeah, so it's basically a way of clamping the bow to the frame so that the user can wheel the wheelchair in there and just pull, basically. Yeah, pull the string.
It always is a great example of what Tetra can do and meet people at their needs. And I just want to thank everybody that collaborated to make this happen, and the parts look very professional, and it inspires me to maybe try different sports. Can you just stop screen sharing for a moment, Edward, so we can go to speaker view? I just want to make sure we haven't missed anything in the chat. And again, Claire, that reminds me, we do have there's a video to end it. So as part of the presentation.
Excuse me, Eric.
Yeah.
I just want to ask a final question to Claire. Is what events or competitions are you planning for this year?
This year I'm looking at a couple different ones. Nothing set in stone yet, but right now I am planning on traveling to Alabama in early July, I believe. So that's the only one I have set in stone for this year right now, but I am very excited to attend. And there should be a lot of competition there with other athletes with disabilities, which will be very exciting.
That's great. I just also wanted to mention that the Leonard had been telling me that the collaboration with D.F. Barnes came about because of his one of the people who work there was a previous volunteer at university with Leonard, and that's how that kind of got started.
No, not a previous volunteer. He was my former student.
Right. Okay, that was it.
And his mother's in a wheelchair, so he understands all the issues, right?
Right on.
Sorry to interrupt. If you want me, if I can share my screen there for a minute, I'm just going to give you a quick view of the scan, 3D scan, and the 3D model that I have here.
Yeah, hang on. I'll let you post, and then you'll be able to do it.
There we go. Yeah. So I can just share here. So is that sharing now? Okay, so basically we started with a scan of the wheelchair, 3D scan. And from that, through a couple of meetings, we determined a decent height. And it really went through a couple of iterations in terms of how do you hold on to this? How do you make it sturdy enough and light enough and adjustable enough for the purpose, for the application? It turned out pretty good. I mean, especially being a carbon fiber wheelchair, it's got some different shapes to it that aren't, well, they're not really described by regular geometry. You got some some different lofted profiles that I had to create slices of the wheelchair frame and stuff like that. But I think it turned out pretty good, and glad that Claire is happy with it. And I think me and Simon are both looking forward to future partnerships and giving our time and help to the Tetra Society, because I think it really turned out well. And that's all
Great
I
to
have.
hear.
And
Thanks for having us.
thank
I'd like
you
to
so
say-
much for your support. And we do have a video as well to
I think the most important thing is free as well.
yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Mhm. Thanks, everyone.
That smile says it all there. And hopefully you stay for some of the other speakers, but we are going to, we've taken in quite a bit of information already, so we're going to do a break. I will remind myself not to say lunch break necessarily, because of course we have people joining from all over. Our latest presentation is from Atlantic Canada, and they're 4 hours ahead of us. So here it is 11:30. We're going to take a break for a half an hour. So per the agenda, which was in Pacific time, so we'll be back noon our time with the presentation right at home, and that'll be Sylvia will be introducing that one, our national coordinator. So that'll be in 30 minutes. So we are going to take a break. But during the break, you can see some of the devices that have been done by Tetra throughout the years. So hopefully everybody's enjoyed TetraCon so far, and please enjoy the slideshow.
Thank you.
Is that you, Edward?
Yeah, it is. We're gonna turn this off here.
Can you let my presenter in, please? She's in the waiting room.
I am in now, Sylvia. Thank you.
Excellent. No, thank you. Just say next for Edward to move your slide ahead, Rica, when you're done with it.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, he'll just, there's Edward in the background now. He'll just change the slide for you then.
What am I doing?
Stop this.
Are you controlling?
All right.
Hey, Edward, can you stop? There's a blue dot and arrow bouncing around the slides today. Is there any way to stop that?
Are you talking about this?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like an accessibility addition to the mouse cursor. Let me see if I can turn it off 1 second.
Okay, because there's all kinds of weird icons coming up and bouncing around the slides, and it's a bit distracting.
Okay. Just give me a second.
Okay.
All right, everybody, we're going to get started in 1 minute. Thanks everybody who's joined us so far. And thanks again, Edward, for setting all this up. We're just doing some adjustments to make sure the slides are at its best, most easy to view. So I'm going to reintroduce Sylvia Baliko, my national coordinator. And Sylvia, if you wouldn't mind introducing our next presenter.
Hey, thanks, Eric. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to this portion of TetraCon. We're going to be talking about people aging in place, and I have here with us today Rica Esguerra. She's the National Director of Strategic Partnerships with Right at Home Canada. Rica joined Right at Home Canada in March of 2020. She brings in over 18 years of expertise in the home care space, both in the US and in Canada. In her role, she fosters and cultivates strategic partnerships in a regional and national level, and lives by an organization's mission in improving the quality of life of the people they serve through advocacy. Okay, if we can get her slide presentation up, Rica, you can take over.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Okay, wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for that lovely introduction, Sylvia. It is my absolute pleasure to share some information with you today about funding options for home care in Canada. This guide was created by our organization, Right at Home, amalgamating publicly available resources with the goal of providing some guidance and support to families and individuals looking for some resources with regards to funding options for home care in order to make an educated decision in getting appropriate care. I do have a lot of information, so I'm hoping that we have enough time for Q&A. If not, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Next slide, please. Excellent. So just a quick background information about our organization. Right at Home is one of the largest and most trusted providers of a comprehensive suite of supportive services for persons with disabilities, injured and aging clients globally, delivered in home or wherever home is to the client. So we could provide services in a private residence, retirement home, long-term care home, or community living or group home. We are present in about 8 countries. Globally, we have 680 care offices with over 30 years of collective experience, collective home care experience. We brought Right Home in Canada in 2012 and have since grown to about 57 offices in Alberta, BC, Ontario, Manitoba, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and PEI. Next slide, please. Wonderful. So let's talk about home care. So unfortunately, not home care are created equally. So there are some organizations where they provide wellness check-ins, community support, companionship, homemaking, and there are home care organizations that provide physical care, personal assistance to nursing care and end-of-life care. So as an example, with Right at Home, we provide a full continuum of care. So meaning anything from medical to medical and anything in between. So that means it could be a wellness check, it could be companion care, support with homemaking, making pot of soup, laundry services, light housekeeping, to support with activities of daily living, nursing, and end-of-life care. So when choosing the right home care organization for yourself or for your family or a loved one, it is very important to ask that question, the type of services that they offer, including, like the education, specialized care team, and all of that. We're going to go over that in a few minutes. Next slide. So we did some research about why in-home care. They say that the future is in-home care, particularly for these reasons. People want to age in place, dignity, to monitor change rather easily versus in a congregate or community living, congregate living setting, fall prevention, socialization, and peace of mind. But simply put, home is where the heart is, and it is where we are most comfortable and where our memories are. Next slide. So the million-dollar question, what is the cost of in-home care? Unfortunately, there's no straight answer to that. I could give you a range of cost of home care coast to coast, and that is between, I would say about $36 to $50, and that is for companion care and personal support. And for nursing care, it ranges about $50 to $80. That's for various levels of nursing care, right? So obviously, the higher level of skilled care, like registered nurses, they could be a little bit more. You're probably wondering, what is this data right here in front of you? We borrowed this data from Sun Life of Canada's cost of care by province, which was published in 2022. So if you're curious, there's definitely an updated information if you just visit their website. But for the purpose of our conversation today, we're going to take the 2022 as an example, because what we're going to do here is we're going to provide you a formula how to come up with your cost of care. So when we talk about home care, it's good to keep in mind the relationship between home care, long-term care home, and retirement living. And I say this because with some people, they're not ready to go to the next level of care just yet. And it's important to have a good baseline as far as how does that translate into home care hours. So let's take a look, for example, the formula that we're going to use is we're going to divide your long-term care home or retirement home cost. This is, by the way, so what we have listed on here, this is the monthly coinsurance copay per province for long-term care home or nursing homes and retirement homes. So let's take example one, which is Alberta. Average long-term care home copay per month is $2,249. We divide that by $38 hourly, and this is the average rate of home care in Alberta. And that gives us about 59 hours of home care. So again, this is just good information for decision making as far as am I able to age in place with that amount of home care hours in place. Example number 2 is in Nova Scotia. So retirement home, about $48.50. We divide that by $36 per hour, which is the average home care cost in Nova Scotia. And that gives us about 134 home care hours per month. Any questions there so far?
No, but Rica, I'm going through this right now with my parents, and it's very costly and not very convenient for some of them. Yeah.
It really is. Well, I'm hoping for our next slide. Next slide, please. It's going to provide you with some options on how you can fund for your home care services. So we have separated the funding sources into the following categories, and that is government-funded support, other insurances, family-funded and out-of-pocket, tax credits and benefits, health benefit insurance, and federal workplace benefits. So I just want to let you guys know that I will try to answer your questions as best as I can. Some of some of the information that we've listed on here are probably going to be best answered by a tax professional, like an accountant or finance person. So that being said, let's get started with government-funded support. Next slide, please. Okay. So we further break this down into 3 categories, which is provincial, regional, and federal. So provincial, this is often fully covered, and in some provinces, it may be income tested, meaning there might be some small co-payment involved. So on the left side, I've listed some examples. They're not all of them, but some examples of what they're called. So in Ontario, for instance, Ontario Health at Home, Health Authorities Out West, Shared Health in Manitoba, Social Development Out East, Alberta Health, and there's also some disability support programs. We've listed a few in here. So we have the Passport Program for Children in Ontario. In several provinces, it's called the Self-Managed Care Program. And the disability support, with each province having their own disability support programs, the concept is relatively similar, meaning either funds are sent directly to the client or their family to manage and retain their own services, or they can work with a service provider and that service provider can bill the insurance directly. In some cases, there are also regional programs. So particularly in Ontario, there's a homemakers program, not in all regions, obviously. But there is, if you're able to check, depending on where you live, there is a homemakers program. Oftentimes it's a combination of personal support and homemaking, and it is also income tested, but it gives you further hours. So typically you can get anywhere from 1 hour. We have clients who have 4 hours of homemaking, and that may include support with laundry, light housekeeping, meal preparation, getting groceries, and taking them to and from medical appointments. And then finally, we have a federal program called IFHB. IFHB, or Interim Federal Health Program, is a temporary health benefits for temporary residents of Canada, such as refugees. And the services that are included on here are typically what you would get under your provincial insurance, like your OHIP and the health authorities out west. So they would cover like hospitalization benefits, home care, personal care, nursing for individuals, and foot care. All right, let's move on to the next slide, please. Excellent. So the first question we ask with regards to funding options for home care is, like, where does your mind go? And immediately we think of, how do I fund my home care services? And typically we always think of going to general savings, right? So we've listed a few examples on here, just food for thought and for consideration, that they are still considered under family funded and out of pocket, just, not very common, I should say. So if you've invested in registered saving plans such as RRSPs or RDSPs, they can be utilized as well to fund for your care. Pension income is another one. Dividend paying investment is, this is a type of investment that typically produce cash on a monthly basis, which can offset costs for home care or really other healthcare costs or home maintenance costs. The home or asset sale is another good one. Some people are downsizing from their family home into a smaller place, and typically, especially with inflation right now, you can definitely use sale of an asset as part of your funding option for care. And this is the next one is my absolute favorite, which is cost sharing among family members. We've had clients where siblings, family members are all chipping in for care of a family member. And then the last two, they're not very common, but we thought we'd list them in here because it might be helpful for some people. Reverse mortgage loans, they are not too common. This type of loan allows homeowners to borrow against the equity in their home. So you don't have to pay back the loan. the security would be the home in itself. So unlike traditional home loan, like I said, you don't have to repay for the loan itself. The loan is considered repaid when the homeowner no longer lives in the home. You know, for example, if they pass away, but you can live in the home, but you would still have to pay for your property taxes, home insurance, and all of that. And just keep in mind that the interest and fees are added to the loan monthly balance, and also the equity in the home typically decreases. So if you are interested in that and you want some more information, you can definitely consult with a mortgage professional. We may have some resources for you if you need help. And then finally, rental income. If you've invested in a property for rent, that's definitely considered a funding option for care. I do want to share, we have a partnership with Garden Suites, and there are probably several other ones out there. And what they do is they create like a mini home. So you can put it, depending on where you live, or bylaws where you live. In some areas, you are allowed to build in your backyard depending on how big it is. So you can generate some income. So that's definitely something to look into. Tiny homes, I should say, mini homes, one and the same. All right, let's move on to the next slide, please. Wonderful, thank you. So let's talk about health benefit insurance. This insurance is typically offered by an employer to either active and in some cases retired workers, and typically benefits may include your spouse or your dependents. Your typical health benefit insurance, you know, like your Canada Life, Manulife, Sun Life of Canada, and all of that. We've listed some examples here that are not too common, just food for thought. You know, like if you or a loved one may have worked in any of these sectors, you might be entitled for some benefits. So as an example, if you worked in the auto sector industry like GM or Chrysler, they have a very robust a benefit plan. For active teachers and retired teachers as well, active service, RCMP, Canadian Armed Forces, and our retired veterans. We're gonna go over that in a second. And dependent benefits. So dependent benefits are not so common. It's typically offered, it's quite rare. I would check with your HR if it's being offered. So typically you can purchase an insurance for your dependents' care, the long and short of it. And then finally, Employee Assistance Program, or EAP, is a workplace benefit that aims to support employees to function to their full potential by alleviating the stress and other challenges that may impede work. So they could offer like mental health support, such as therapy and counseling, and oftentimes benefits may extend to family members as well. Now, in some EAPs, we have worked with some employee assistance programs where navigation is also included, whereby they provide a care manager and they don't pay for the services, but it's more so just helping you navigate, you know, providing you with some options. Let's say if you're looking for a physiotherapist or home care provider, they do all of the research, they do all of the costing and all of that, and they provide you with like a proposal. So it just makes it easier for you to choose the right home care provider for yourself. All right, so next slide, please. So here are some tips when calling an insurance provider to ensure that you have your benefit card or past healthcare claim, which includes your plan ID number, because for sure they will ask for that. If you're calling on behalf of a loved one or on behalf of the member or power of attorney, make sure that you have the permission to disclose that information. For example, if you're calling on behalf of your father, make sure that they are there to provide you permission to obtain that information. Also explain to the insurance provider what type of support you're looking for. So if, let's say, it's home care, if it's for physio, what type of support, like personal care, nursing, physiotherapy, and all of that. You should also be asking for a per day or per visit maximum and yearly maximum amounts. Also ask if the benefits are being combined with any service provider. So as an example, if you have other insurance. It's called the coordination of benefits, just making sure that, you know, your two insurance providers are talking to one another. So as an example, I have a daughter who's type 1 diabetic and we have ADP. So whenever I file a claim for her insulin pump supplies, when I put in my claim, I put in, you know, the coverage for ADP and what they should be paying for. Also ask for yearly maximums. Some insurance provider follow a calendar year, for example, or benefit versus benefit year. So as an example, July 1st rather than December 31st. The next one is quite important. Ask if a physician referral is required, physician order. In some cases, it's an OT assessment, nursing assessment. So ask if those are required. Also ask the plan if they will pay the provider directly. Who's filing for the claim? Are they filing on your behalf, or are you filing for your claim? So ensure that you have all the correct forms. Also ask if there is a waiting period. Ask about a deductible. Deductible is your co-payment before coverage begins. And your copay, so typically 80% insurance pays and 20% would be the insured responsibility. Okay, next slide, please. So let's talk about other insurance. So on the left side are more of the common ones, and I've listed on the right side the not so common ones that we're going to talk about. Auto insurance or MVA insurance is a type of insurance if you've had a motor vehicle accident. This type of insurance would typically cover for your medical expenses, attendant care benefits like personal care, loss of income, and all of that. Workplace assistance accident insurance. So we have the WSIB or WCB. This is a form of insurance that protects employees from injury or disability that is sustained while performing a job. So benefits may include wage replacement, medical, rehabilitation, and return to work support. Now, on my right side, like I said, are not so common insurance plans. Long-term care insurance, they're not very popular in Canada. However, they are available. Long-term care insurance is a specific type of insurance that you buy in preparation for retirement. So they cover long-term care homes, retirement homes, and home care. They typically have a waiting period and a cap set of per day amounts. Whole life insurance is a type of insurance whereby it doesn't. So, are you familiar with like the difference between temporary insurance and whole life? I'm gonna assume that's a yes. So temporary, per the word temporary, it has an end date, right? So whole life, it doesn't have an end date, and it also has a cash portion or a cash investment part of it. So the death benefit is separate, and on the cash portion of it, you can borrow against it, and people typically use it really for anything, whatever you need. If you want to keep it there, you can do so and use it for retirement. In some cases, you can borrow against it to pay for healthcare services. The last two ones, critical illness insurance. Critical illness may be purchased separately, or it can be a rider to your life insurance. So critical illness is a lump sum benefit for individuals diagnosed with a serious illness. And this benefit may be used to support a client for expenses during recovery or treatment, and that may include personal care and nursing. And then finally, disability insurance is a purchase plan that generally include wage continuance in the event of a person's disability. Okay, let's talk about, thank you for moving my slides. Let's talk about tax credits and benefits. Now, this is not a full listing, so please check with CRA with your accountant for more information, just the more common ones we've listed on here. So your medical expense tax credit, or METC, you would need to be eligible for this. You need to be eligible for the disability tax credit certified by a medical practitioner. And what you can include in your medical expense tax credit are medical care, medical supplies, and dental care. So definitely home care, attendant care, personal care, and nursing are also considered as eligible expenses. Disability tax credit, disability tax credit or DTC, for individuals with prolonged or severe impairments or their supporting family members may be eligible for this non-refundable tax credit. So that means it reduces your tax bill. So for more information, you can visit CRA on how you can be eligible for that. There's also Canada Caregiver Credit. So if you're caring for a family member or a loved one, such as a spouse, common law partner, or an eligible dependent with a physical or mental impairment, you may qualify for this tax credit. And for caring for a critically ill or palliative family member, you may qualify for EI caregiving benefits, and you may be eligible up to 55% of your income with a weekly maximum of $650 per month. Now, in each provinces, you know, there may be some other tax credits that is not listed on here. I've just listed Ontario. This is a newer tax credit. It's called the Ontario Seniors Care at Home Tax Credit. It's very similar to METC, Medical Expense Tax Credit. And you can claim for this alongside METC. And you can get a credit. You may claim up to 25% of eligible medical expenses, up to $6,000 with a maximum credit of $1,500 annually. All right, I feel like I'm just dumping you with so much information because there's quite a lot. So please feel free to stop if you have any questions. Okay, and then finally, federal workplace benefits. So for people who have served in the military, Canadian Armed Forces, there is attendant care. So attendant care is like personal care. So help support with activities of daily living, and home assistance programs are for homemaking and support with ground maintenance. And things like that. There are also nursing visits and home health benefits for our veterans, as well as for our Canadian Armed Forces and RCMP. These programs are administered through Medavie Blue Cross. So under treatment benefits, you would typically need a nursing assessment in order to qualify, and you could qualify for any foot nursing or any nursing visits at home. And then finally, we have the Veterans Independence Program for our veterans. This type of program is administered again by Medavie Blue Cross, and it aids eligible veterans in maintaining their independence through services like personal care, nursing, foot care, housekeeping, grounds maintenance, meal preparation, and delivery, as well as transportation. So in a gist, those are the funding options for care. In the next slide, I'd like to show you just some guidelines when choosing the right home care provider for you or for your family. First, make sure that you check their liability insurance. Ensure that they are doing their VSS or background checks. Do they have the education and expertise to proper training in order to provide the service? And if you're engaging a third-party provider, you have to ask who's doing the payroll, taxes, and insurance, right? So if you're engaging an organization like an independent contractor, typically, you know, you may be responsible for like the taxes, insurance, and all of that, versus like an organization where they cover all of it and they basically just send the personal support worker or nurses to your home. So best to check that. And then finally, care oversight. We can't forget about it because it really optimizes your care plan. It's just an added layer of security. All right, next slide, please. Okay, perfect. So these are two documents that I'd like to share with you. You don't have to take a screenshot. Sylvia, if that's okay, I can share with you a copy of the funding options for care, depending on the province. And it's just a good checklist, important questions to ask when you're choosing an in-home care provider and what help does your loved one need. I think it's very helpful when making that decision. So I will be sharing that with you, Sylvia, to share with your team. And like I said, if you have any questions, comments, or any concerns, please reach out to me and I'll try to answer all your questions as best I can.
If you could possibly, well, I'll see if I can copy and paste this and put it in. No, I can't. Okay, I'll copy it into the chat room. But if you can send me those forms, Rica, that would be really great.
Absolutely. I'll send you the entire guide so you can also review all of the information there. Does anybody have any questions? I think we have 3 minutes left for questions. I wasn't watching the chat.
Yeah, I was. The chat here says, how long do you have to have served in the Canadian Armed Forces to qualify for home care? Do you have that answer, Rica? Or?
You know what? That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure how long you'd have to serve. So if I can circle back to you I'll try to find that information and I can circle back.
Okay. Richard asked that question. Richard, if you could possibly provide me with your email address or reach out to me, I'll put my email address in again. Anyone else with a question? I wanted to ask Rica, so if they come to you right at home and ask for services, do they then take care of all your needs if you want to stay at home? So for instance, I need a PSW, I need a housemaker, I need maybe a nurse to come to the house. Is that something they would oversee or just provide the information?
You mean like as far as sending out resources like personal support workers or nurses in the home?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely we could do that. So we have about 57 care offices all across Canada. And we would typically have a consultation first. And it's free. It's really just having a conversation if the services are right for you. And from there, like we could also give you options as far as navigation. If let's say this is not the right type of service for you, we have what we call a care planner toolkit. And we could typically pull from that resource list recommendations. So as an example, we have partnership with several organizations like Parkinson Canada, Alzheimer's Society, ALS Canada, Brain Injury Canada. We are able to, provide recommendations as far as if this is not available. I mean, if the support is not appropriate or we don't offer it, then we could recommend, other organizations who may be able to support.
Okay, so you would navigate a family or a person through the entire process. That's fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I think Paul Marriage has one.
There's a couple in the chat.
Could you guys read it out? I'm just trying to get this gentleman's email address down before I lose it.
Yeah, Tara Hart asks, what can people do when they run out of hours available from a care professional?
So that is actually a great question. So we could typically coordinate benefits with the publicly funded. So I'm speaking on behalf of Right at Home. So not all home care organizations are equal, so it may be different with other organizations, but from our perspective, we can typically coordinate with the government-funded home care providers. If, let's say, they offer 1 hour of care or 2 hours of care, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, we can work with the family as far as, exploring, based on the funding options, how can you fund for your home care services? And then from there, we could bridge the hours as far as, do you need maybe 4 more hours or so. If that is not possible, so we are launching something March March 15th, actually March 17th. And it is a care technology that is going to bridge the gap in care. It's really exciting. I know it's not part of my presentation, but it answers the question. So what it is a care platform. It's very intuitive, it's audio based, and it listens. So how it's going to be helpful is that when you think of it, just like your pods, like your Google Pods that you plug in your home, and it triggers keywords and phrases. So for instance, someone's calling for help, someone's coughing, verbalizing, symptoms of chest pain. It's very intelligent, and it compiles all of that into possible care events and diagnostic. And this is going to be revolutionizing home care, if you will, because we can certainly bridge those hours, right? So we can maximize the in-person support with the help of a care technology platform. So I hope that answers that question.
Fantastic, Rica. We've run over a little bit. The next presenter is ready to go. I really appreciate your input here today. It was eye-opening, and I'm sure we're going to have a few questions come your way either tomorrow or next week. So on behalf of everyone here, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
There were some more questions in the chat, so we will collect those and do our best to get them to Rica. And again, it was an excellent presentation, because part of what Tetra tries to do is make referrals. Like, we always like to never leave somebody without an option. So thank you, Sylvia, for organizing that presentation. So we stay on schedule. I want to now introduce our regional coordinator from the Prairies. If you've stayed with us throughout the day, you met her earlier in our TetraCon event. Crystal Liechko-Johnson joining us from Winnipeg. And Crystal, you're going to introduce our next presenters.
Thanks, Eric. I'm happy to be here today and to introduce this next project. In 2024, Tetra's Winnipeg chapter was pleased to partner with Habitat for Humanity to design and construct a custom accessibility ramp for a client. So as Eric mentioned earlier, having partnerships such as this one is very important for Tetra and for our clients to ensure that we're able to meet all of their needs. Due to the scope of this project, Tetra would not have been able to complete this without Habitat's assistance. Here to discuss the project is Stephen Schellenberg. He's from Habitat for Humanity, Manitoba, as well as Constantine Zerabilio. Sorry if I butchered that, Constantine. He's a technical volunteer from the Winnipeg chapter. And also joining them is Winnipeg's chapter coordinator, Sarah Yanagi. So I will now turn it over to Sarah.
Thanks, Crystal, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I'm from the Winnipeg chapter. And today is happy to here to introduce our success project with collaboration with Habitat. And this project, I think if we can go through the next slide, if we can start with the presentation. And this next slide, please. Yes. And here is a high-level overview of the project. So the client, she has a need to enter their home. So she has the TKA as a she need to use the wheelchair and then enter their home. And we collaborate this project with Habitat, starting from the city permit submission, and then also we gain a lot of value experience for construction, planning, and also the execution. So today we have the Habitat project lead, a senior project lead from Habitat, and he will introduce us more about their organization. And after that, we have our technical volunteer who joined this project, Constantine. He will introduce more about the project. Thank you. So I'll pass this to Stephen, if you would like to. And next slide, yes. Stephen, I think you're on the meeting. If you're speaking, maybe you're on mute. think I cannot hear Steven.
Hi, Edward. Is he by any chance in the waiting room?
No, he already joined us. Yeah, half hour ago. I already saw him. Hi, Steven, if you can hear me. Let's see.
You probably step away.
Perhaps maybe go to Constantine first then, and maybe Stephen.
Yeah.
Then oh, there's Stephen. He's just popping up now. He probably had computer issues.
Yeah, I can see his mic is unmuted. So,
yeah, I think he's having computer issues. You may want to start with Constantine.
Right. Yeah, we can start with Constantine part. So if we move the slide to 3 slides more after. From here. Pass to you, Constantine.
Thank you, Sarah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Constantine, and I joined Tetra Society as a technical volunteer in 2022, primarily because of my previous engineering background, which I believed could help support my fellow Winnipeggers. And so this project we are presenting today has been so far the largest in my Canadian experience, to be honest with you. And more importantly, it embodies quite an efficient and productive collaboration of the two nonprofit organizations, Tetra and Habitat. When we originally started the project, Alka, our client, had already attempted to find a solution to her problem. And I found her quite desperate due to lack of any options available on the market. If I'm not mistaken, she considered different options, such as buying a brand new ramp, which was obviously unaffordable. She also looked for a used one, but there was no available ramp in Manitoba. There were a few, that's true. There were a few ramps in other provinces, but the delivery cost, the delivery cost was incomparable. Like it would have cost nearly as much as building a complete new ramp, effectively. And she also contacted, I believe, other nonprofits. I believe she mentioned that, but unfortunately, she didn't get any support from them either. And so, essentially, she lost her faith in commercial organizations, volunteers, and worst of all, in human support and honesty. So when I visited her first time, she didn't even expect anyone to come and help her with her problem. And responding to her request, Tetra initiated a cycle of technical discovery sessions to collect the requirements, measure the area, and discuss design options. And as you can see on this slide, originally I came up with a very simple design, which included just one single leg. But unfortunately, we were not able to proceed with that concept because of the limited area in front of the house. So we eventually had to redesign that completely. We faced several challenges, such as, for example, as I said, increased cost due to a limited area in the front of the house, which demanded a more sophisticated design. And furthermore, building these sort of structures requires a city permit, as we know. So solving for those eventually led us to an amazing collaboration with Stephen and his team. So the way we approach technical and financial challenges seems to have impressed Alka and hopefully helped us to reinstate her trust in the community. And just to summarize all of my experience and reflecting on these as well as many other Tetra projects, I finally came to realization that the main goal perhaps is not only to build ramps or any assistive devices, but also to not let people feel abandoned at difficult times and to help heal their hearts, thereby strengthening the community ties. And perhaps Stephen can speak more to that project, I believe. Thank you, Sarah. Back to you. Back to Stephen.
Okay, thank you, Constantine. So Stephen, are you able to speak now? If it's not, I can cover the introduction of habitat part. Let me see. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the slide change. So the Habitat for Humanity, for Humanity Manitoba. So they provide a service repair in their critical repair program. They have help the seniors with their homes, or help with accessibility, for example, wheelchair ramp, renovations to a bathroom or the kitchen to allow access due to a disability. And in this collaboration in our project, they also help us not only for the process, the execution, they also support most of the budget of this project. So yeah, this is a very huge support for us, Tetra. And in the next slide, I think we have a couple pictures as examples. So this is one habitat completed with a wheelchair accessible shower. So as you can see on the left side is the before, and then on the right side, two pictures is after. We are able to see we have a lot of bars attached to the wall, how people can use the wheelchair in the shower. And the next slide is another picture for the wheelchair lift. This is a little similar with the one that we just completed for the ramp access to the house. So they created the wood. Okay, so in this picture, I think in the right is the before and in the left is after. So they construct the lift ramp in front of the house for the client. Okay. I think, yeah, this is two examples from Habitat. I apologize that we couldn't figure out the computer issue. I think on Steven's side, he cannot speak, or we cannot hear from him. So that's the introduction for the whole project. If anyone has any questions.
I just had a comment, Sarah. In the past, I thought Habitat for Humanity only built homes. I didn't realize that they would actually come in and assist with projects that we can't cover because of cost and building permits. We usually do not get involved in these large ramps. We can do small ramps, portable ramps, but because of Habitat for Humanity and the great funding and ability to obtain a permit, this is a fantastic collaborative project, and I can't thank them enough.
Right, agree, yeah. And Steven is here. He cannot speak, but he can hear us, I think. So, yeah, I think it's a big thanks for the Habitat. Yeah, it's a great collaboration. Thanks.
Thanks, Sarah, and thanks, Stephen and Constantine, for joining us today. I don't know if anyone has any other questions for Sarah or Constantine. Or if you have any for Stephen, we can get those to him. And
yeah, I think for Stephen, I'd just like to ask, like, how do they pick their projects? Like, does it go by need, or can we approach them in future endeavors for this type of projects?
Stephen, I think if you can type the answer in the chat box, that we can speak out behalf.
If not, what we can do is I can write the questions down, and we can get Stephen to answer them, and we can respond back to the people. How does that sound?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Write the questions down.
And I do see we have a question from Mary Jo, who has her hand up. So Mary Jo, you have a question?
Yeah, thank you. It's actually similar. I'm curious if this was in Winnipeg and if this happens or could happen Canada-wide, which would be amazing. And as was mentioned previously, what is the process for applying or for initiating this collaboration? And is it something that is not that could be utilized? Like, I'm actually thinking specifically about emergency preparedness and how many buildings are not prepared, and many buildings don't have ramps that have elevators where there's a lot of wheelchair people living in them. And anyways, I just feel like there's a huge need. I don't know if this is the right place to bring that up, but why not?
I can answer a couple of questions, Mary Jo. I was a safety officer in my past.
Oh, great.
I know the fire department has slings to carry people downstairs. I know it's not the ideal way to go without your wheelchair, but in an emergency, just getting you out is the priority. So I would hope that in your region, I would contact your fire department and just ask them the process for evacuating people in wheelchairs or strollers or people that can't walk. As far as the other concern is, if there is a property or a project, you can just submit an RFA, a request assistance, through Tetra, and we would get hold of the local Habitat for Humanity, because they may run a little different. I'm not that familiar, but we would certainly do the research and find the answer out for you. So we would try to make that project happen in every province and every city, but that may not be the reality, but we would certainly find that out for you.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of my questions, because of course Sylvia and I talked about this project before it happened, and as Sarah described and Sylvia mentioned, Habitat for Humanity helped with the building permit. Like, some of this project was out of Tetra scope, and I'm just thankful to Stephen and Habitat for Humanity for assisting with the parts that we could not. And I'm wondering, Sarah, if you could speak to how many collaborations we've had with Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah, so far this is the only one we have collaboration with them. Yeah, since last year, and this was our first time collaboration. Yeah.
And then I think I saw in the chat how widespread is Tetra. So Tetra is across the country, and then also how widespread is Habitat for Humanity. So Sylvia can speak to this. In Ontario alone, we have 9 different chapters, and then 5 chapters in Manitoba. About 3 different chapters in Atlantic Canada, 3 to 4 different chapters in BC, and then some chapters, like for example for Tetra, the Vancouver chapter covers other communities in the Lower Mainland. So we'll talk about that later this afternoon, but if you were to submit a request to Tetra, as Sylvia said, and let's say you live in Nanaimo but don't see an Nanaimo chapter, you would still let us know where you're from, and we do have volunteers in Victoria, for example, or on the island. If you live in Surrey but don't see a Surrey chapter, you can submit a request to the Vancouver chapter, and volunteers from Surrey and other nearby communities attend, and that's the same in Ontario. Sylvia covers work in Kitchener. So whenever you're thinking about where's Tetra close to me, we may not have a coordinator in that area, but we can still facilitate through our volunteers in different communities the completions of projects. And I also wanted to thank Constantine for his testimony about the project. It was quite moving to hear the impact that you had on the client. And I just wanted to take this time to thank all of our volunteers, and I hope every volunteer gets to experience the difference they are truly making through these devices. Edward, would you mind if we just stop screen sharing for a moment? Because while we have a few moments, and I'm sorry that Stephen's audio wasn't working, but thank you again, Constantine, for your efforts with the project. And you mind if I ask what inspired you to become a Tetra volunteer?
So essentially, when I first came to Canada, I realized that there were so many people in need, and they could potentially benefit from my knowledge and skills. And I was advised by the Immigrant Center to apply for any of the volunteering organization, nonprofit organization, to help and support the community members. And there were not so many of them, actually, to be honest with you, that required technical volunteers, actually, and Tetra was one of them.
Well, it definitely, they say that knowledge is the most powerful when you pass it on and share it. So thank you for sharing your skills and knowledge with others. While we have a couple of moments, our previous presentation, actually, we had, and I think this is a nice tie-in, we had a video of a very cool project done in Hamilton that kind of tied into also being able to be independent at home. So can we just pause the video there? And I just wanted to give Sylvia a moment to introduce it and talk about this special project that was done by the Hamilton chapter.
Sure, thanks, Eric. This gentleman named Terry can only move his head and his right index finger. And we had created some devices for him to stay warm because his finger had to stay out exposed in the winter time. So we had made some covers for his wheelchair, controls, etc. And he then became a Tetra volunteer. He's an outreach volunteer for Tetra, so he spreads the word in Hamilton to all the people in his building and all the people he's connected to. And he's provided us with many clients in, I would say, at least 10, 15 years. But recently he asked us to, if we could, automate his sliding door from his apartment onto his balcony, as he's never been on his balcony the 15 years that he lived there. So our volunteer went out and did it. And like I said, because he can only use certain parts of his body, it was very difficult, but here's the results. Can we cue that up, Edward?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Share screen photos. You can't see me sharing, right?
Yeah, you're showing now.
Okay. Sorry. Where are my things going?
It's not showing here yet.
When?
So very cool. Hopefully everybody saw that. And in case you didn't hear the audio, he was able to do that through his voice. And Sylvia, correct me if I'm wrong, you were saying earlier that was the first time he was ever out on his balcony independently.
Correct. And it's amazing. And he's really appreciative. And we've done a lot of automation via voice or sensors for doors, windows, different appliances. And we've done this across the country as well, not just here in Ontario. So we have a gentleman in Windsor. He's actually the chapter coordinator in Windsor, and he is really cool. And he fools around with electronics, and he gets like $12 parts from somewhere. And then he advises the volunteers in the different cities on how to make this kind of automation happen. So it's the future.
Well, and that has been some of the most exciting things to see is how we can use technology out there to change people's lives. And the engineering or the volunteer adage is, why reinvent the wheel if you don't have to? And I never thought I'd see technology be able to open a sliding door automatically. So all the things that are created, it's truly inspiring to see the solutions. And that is perfect timing leading into our next presentation, which is going to be from Ian Price with Technology for Independent Living. But while I have just a couple of moments, I do just want to go over just a couple of housekeeping things. For those who have joined us later in the day, today has been sponsored, TetraCon has been sponsored by Leafi at Home and Will Wang, and he had a presentation on a automated blind service to be able to open your blinds. And I just wanted to remind everybody, and thank you, Sylvia, for the reminders. If you have missed part of TetraCon, it will be up on YouTube. So if there are things that you think, oh, I missed or I didn't see, you will be able to watch it online. And another thing I wanted to reiterate, you might have noticed in our agenda that we put out there about breaks and Tetra trivia, and you might be saying, why isn't Eric doing the trivia? And that's because we're going to do the trivia to give away gift cards, but we have decided to give gift cards to every non-staff member, of course, who've attended TetraCon. So that's why we asked you to register. Thank you for attending today, and by registering, we have your email, and then we will be sending out. It'll probably be from an info@tetrasociety.org, a gift card to you. So if you're wondering why we're not doing the trivia, that's the reason why. And then one of the last things I wanted to mention is there have been some questions today about where is Tetra and what are the contacts. Edward, if you wouldn't mind, can you just go over and grab a gizmo right there on the table? We have done, we have a national kind of newsletter or magazine called The Gizmo, and that is also on our website. If you go to the website and under the tab of what's happening, and then if you can see me on screen, we have an electronic version of this. So earlier today, I talked about expansion to Quebec. Here is Edward's taller than me, so I'm going to get him to do that. Here is an article on Quebec and other chapters. And if you turn the TetraCon there for me, the back page, on the back is all of our chapters. So if you're ever wondering, where is Tetra in my community, go to our website at tetrasociety.org and then go to the Gizmo tab. That is also out electronically for everyone to read. And without further ado, I think he's in the chat. And we are just slightly ahead of time, but it gives me a chance to introduce Ian, and I want to give him time for his presentation because he's got some very exciting things to show. So it is my privilege to introduce Ian Price, and it's been my privilege to work or know Ian since the early 2000s because he started out as Tetra's chapter coordinator in Kelowna. He currently serves as one of Tetra's board of directors on our national board. Ian has lived experience with a disability and throughout his life has been navigating ways to overcome barriers to his independence and how to best use technology to help others remove barriers as well. He currently is a peer team lead and innovation strategy for technology for living. And also he is the CEO and founder of Resource Group, Inc. He's a world traveler. He's also a consultant on accessible travel, and he continues to be an ongoing resource for me of adaptive devices or a way to problem solve. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ian Price. Ian.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction, Eric. Hi everyone, thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here and tell you a little bit about technology for living as a whole, and that's our nonprofit organization in Vancouver, and then also TIL, one of our programs. So let's get started.
Just say next slide when you're ready to go to the next slide.
I will. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Eric. Okay, so our mission at Technology for Living is to support individuals with limited mobility to increase independence, inclusion, and well-being. We are specific to the home, unlike other organizations. We are peer-driven, serve all of British Columbia, and all of the equipment that I'm going to mention today is loaned out on a long-term loan. So what that means is we'll do an assessment and, not quite yet, and we'll do an assessment and see what type of equipment you need that will best serve you at home. And then that equipment is then provided to you, and then when you don't need it anymore, or things change and you need something different, then you can send it back to us, and we'll send you new equipment. Okay, next slide. So we have three main programs. One is our PROC, Provincial Respiratory Outreach Program, where we provide respiratory equipment and services, such as the ventilator that I'm using today. Our peer support program, where we are offering peer support, holding events, really connecting community, and also referrals if somebody has a question that we can't answer or doesn't fit our mission, then we will connect you with other organizations to help. And third and finally is Technology for Independent Living, TIL, where we provide smart assistive technologies such as smart home devices. And that's really what I'm going to be focusing on today, just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. Okay, next slide. So for TIL, our eligibility is 19 plus or older, have limited mobility due to permanent physical disability, and be a resident of British Columbia. Our application form is really simple. It can be found on our website, and within a few days of sending out the application form to us, we will contact you and get the ball rolling. For most of our programs and services, there is not usually a waiting list, so we can usually help you within a few weeks. Next slide. So what is smart home technology? Smart home tech is pretty much any device that is connected to the internet. It can be a light bulb, it can be a plug, it could be a smart toaster for that matter. But the great thing about smart home tech is it can be used in a number of different ways, whether by voice, buttons, using an app on your phone, and also automations, which are my favorite. So picture yourself driving into your driveway, the GPS on your phone recognizes that you're almost home or that you're home, and it turns on the lights outside. It unlocks your front door. It starts playing music when you enter into into your house. It maybe adjusts the thermostat. All of these things and so much more can be controlled by smart tech. So to get started, many of our members use smart speakers. I personally have a whole bunch in my house, and I absolutely love it because having a physical disability and not being able to use a phone very well, with my hands at least, then I can talk. Oh, go back again, please. I can go back, or I can, sorry, I can speak to my smart home. And there are many different brands. We have Amazon, Apple, Google, whatever is best suited for your home, or maybe you already have certain devices and you just want to add to it. We can certainly help with that. Next slide. So another option, particularly popular for our members who are nonverbal, is switch control, where you have a button or a whole bunch of buttons. They are situated on either your desk or connected to your chair. And then by pushing those buttons, you can control your smart home without speaking. We also have sip and puff, which, if you're not familiar with, is a straw that you sip or puff into, and that can also control your home environment. Next slide. We also offer phone and tablet mounting. We don't offer phones and tablets, but mounting solutions have been extremely popular with our members. Usually, I'd say having a phone mount on a wheelchair or a tablet mount on a bedside table. Those are extremely popular and very versatile. We have a whole bunch of different brands to best suit our members' needs, but these are just a couple examples. Next slide. So setting up a smart home, usually I recommend starting with a smart light bulb or a few smart light bulbs throughout your home. And we typically focus on the bedroom and living room. And something that is really cool that I absolutely love are pairing them with motion sensors. So when you enter the living room, for example, the lights automatically turn on, and then when you leave the room, the lights turn off. They're very basic, they're simple, but they make the world of difference. Next slide. Smart plugs are also wonderful. They turn a not so smart device into something that you can control with your smart home. So an example would be connecting a fan or a lamp to a smart plug, and then it has that connectivity. Next slide. Thermostat. So I am always cold, especially this time of year, and that's quite common with our members to not be able to regulate their body temperature as well. So smart thermostats are great. It's really easy. You can either adjust it with your phone to have presets during different parts of the day, or if you're feeling a little chilly or hot in the summer, you can very easily give a command to temporarily adjust the temperature in your house. For smart entertainment, we have a lot of options, but one of my favorites is the Amazon Fire TV Cube. This is a great device that can be connected to any TV. It doesn't have to be a smart TV. And now you have full control of that TV. And what is especially cool is you're able to, let's say, open up Netflix or Disney Plus all by voice. You can even navigate, which is really amazing, going up, down, left, right, select, okay, going back, etc., all by your voice, which is really nice. Now they do work with some cable boxes, but they can be a bit finicky. So it's not perfect, but it's the best solution that we've found for now. Next slide. Smart curtains and blinds. I see our friend Will is here today with Leafi. Yes, we also provide the Leafi Nova, which we're really excited and proud to be sharing with our members. But this is an older slide. We have our switchback curtains, which are also very easy to install. You just clip it onto the curtain rod and it rolls back and forth, opening and closing the curtain. And so they're very easy to set up. They're very easy to use. They are battery powered. So you have to plug them in maybe once or twice a year. But I personally love it. I found as a kid growing up with a disability that I never really thought I'd be able to open curtains and blinds. I just left it as is. And it's nice, having an automation where at sunset, everything closes automatically. I love it. My caregivers love it. They're great devices for sure. Next slide. Smart locks are also very popular. They're extremely easy to install. You don't have to replace the deadbolt or the key or anything like that. And the best part of smart locks is just being able to operate it independently, but also setting up permissions. So let's say your caregiver is arriving usually at 6 in the morning. You can set it up so that with their phone, they can unlock and lock the door around that time. And then if they move to a night shift, for example, you can very easily in the app adjust it so they only have permission at set times of day or certain days of the week to be able to access your home, which I think is really important for our privacy. Next slide. Okay, this little guy is one of my favorites. This is a switch bot, and essentially it is a smart finger, and it's battery powered, and it can be stuck onto pretty much anything. And it has a little finger that extends to push a button. Very simple to use, very versatile. I have these all over my house. And we also have a new one called the SwitchBot Touch, I believe. And it is similar, but it's good for touchscreens. So if you have something in your house that isn't smart natively, that has a touchscreen, then it can be connected to it. Last year, we rolled out adaptive gaming devices, and these have been very popular. We have a number of different adaptive gaming controllers. We do not provide the gaming console, just the adaptive gaming controller and switches. But these are a few from Sony for PlayStation, for Microsoft, for Xbox, and they're great. They're really helpful for helping have access to gaming consoles. And personally, I used to be such an avid gamer when I was younger. Unfortunately, my hands became weak and wasn't able to play anymore. So it's really cool to see that we're able to roll out equipment like this. Next slide. Okay. Next is our automatic door opener program. So this is a separate application simply because these are very expensive and we can't give these out to everybody. We're a little bit more restricted as to who receives them. But they're wonderful. They natively come with a little fob, a little button that you can push to open the door, and then we can also modify these. Our biomeds can modify them to allow for voice activation, and that's what I have in my house. And I absolutely love it. It's really cool to me in the summer to be able to open the door, go for a walk, or even just sit outside and enjoy the sun for a bit without having to ask somebody for help. I should mention that because they are so expensive and with the separate application form, that these are not 100% free of charge unless you meet the financial criteria for that. Next slide. So I'm a nerd. I work with a bunch of nerds. We love technology and we love talking about technology. So I highly recommend checking out our YouTube channel. We Talk Tech. So go to youtube.com/technology4living and you can see interviews and deep dives into a lot of different assistive tech, some of which we provide. Other technology is just really cool, and we want everybody to know about it. Next slide. Okay, give me one quick second. I just need to use the suction machine. Okay, that's better. So, our peer hub, we started this last year. It's the first Tuesday of every month, virtual on Zoom. And if you'd love to connect with our community, please join us. We'd love to have you here. Next slide. Our Simon Cox student design competition takes place every year. And this year it's on April 26th at the Blossom Center in Vancouver. I highly recommend attending if you're in town. The Simon Cox competition or student design competition is really special to me. Simon was a friend and mentor, and he loved innovation and particularly working with students to help build humanity, but build assistive technology as well. And so this is an opportunity for post-secondary students to be able to show off their skills and, more importantly, work with our members to be able to create custom assistive technology solutions. Next slide. Okay, so that's the end of my discussion about the services we provide. but I wanted to tell you a little bit about some of the technology that I'm really excited about personally, and that I plan on testing in the near future. So next slide is the Akara presence sensor. So before I mentioned that we had a motion sensor that when you enter the room, the light turns on. Well, this is the next level. This can actually track multiple people in a room. And also you can set up different zones. So you're able to see, or it's able to see where you are in your living room. So let's say you have a lamp on one side of the room and then a lamp beside the couch. So every time you sit on the couch or go near the couch, that first lamp will turn off. Then when you go into another zone in that same room, let's say into the blue zone, then something else can happen. And it's a really cool concept. It uses millimeter wave technology, and I think that this is very promising for complex smart homes. But it has some bugs right now where it will think it sees somebody in the room, but there isn't anybody, so that's why we're not offering this at Technology for Living yet. But I think once they perfect the technology, it will be something really promising, really exciting for our members. Next slide. I love AI. I love everything with AI in it for the most part so far. And this is a really cool device brought out by it's a partnership with Amazon or Meta and Ray-Ban. And these are smart glasses that have a little camera on the side, and it's a touch sensor. As you can see, he's touching with his finger, but it can also be controlled by voice. And it has a microphone and a speaker, so you can make phone calls, you can take pictures, you can also ask Meta to describe something that you see in front of you. So let's say you're traveling and you want a bit more information of what you're looking at, or for people with low vision and blindness to be able to understand or better understand what is in front of them. So and it's pretty inexpensive. I think they're around $400 or $500. Not bad for something as compact as these. Next slide. These also were rolled out last year. They're very expensive. I think they're around $5,000. But I just really like the potential and the direction technology is moving in. Something in particular I love about these about the Apple Vision Pro, which is a mix between AR, augmented reality, where something pops up in front of your face. It is that you can control it with your eyes, so you can look at a button. It also has switch control, and it just has so many features that I personally would love to try this device. I've tried other augmented reality and virtual reality, but I think this is kind of a highlight or a showcase of everything that we have for latest and greatest technology built into one device. Unfortunately, it's a little bit heavy. That's one of my concerns of wearing it. But next time I'm at an Apple store, I'm definitely going to be trying this out. Next slide. This is my friend Taylor using his Jaker robotic arm by Canova. It is connected to his wheelchair, and he's able to grab things, and it's very impressive what companies like this are rolling out. I've seen videos of people picking up a key and putting it into a mailbox. That's how accurate these fingers and joints are. So I love it. They're a little expensive, but it's just another level of independence. Next slide. And finally, the Neuralink. This is a brain implant. It's a brain computer interface. And for those who haven't seen videos of this yet, I highly recommend checking it out. There is so much on YouTube and online, but essentially this is installed in your head. They cut a hole in your skull, I know, which sounds very scary. And then these little connectors are inserted into the brain. And the wonderful thing about devices such as this is people are actually able to control their computer or their tablet or their smart home or their smartphone rather, just through voice, and or not voice. What am I saying? Just by thought, and that's the amazing thing, to be able to think of moving the cursor around on the screen and it working and working quite well. I've seen videos of some of the early testers being able to move the mouse around faster than I can, and probably you can, with very good accuracy. And I think as this technology advances, people will one day be able to drive their wheelchair just by thinking it. And I know that sounds scary, but for people that have no upper body control, I think this is really exciting news, and I look forward to seeing what the next iterations are. So next slide. Technology for Living has a number of donors. We are very grateful. We couldn't be doing the great work we're doing, providing all this equipment, without all of these companies and organizations and many more. So thank you so much. And finally, last slide. If you have any more questions or you'd like to apply to one of our programs, please visit our website, technologyforliving.org, or send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ian, for joining us today. It is amazing how far technology has come. I remember what a change it was for me, the first computer I used, or even the first power chair.
Yes.
Now, as you said, you can do things through thought. Would you mind just stop screen sharing, Edward? And just so we can see the chat. So as you mentioned, and I just had a couple of questions, and I just wanted to clarify for people, because the price can be an issue. So when, like the robotic arm that was holding the drink, which by the way, that drink looked very professionally mixed to me. So I was wondering if that arm comes with its own bartender. But the devices that are more expensive, all of the devices that you talked about, does Technology for Independent Living, are they able to fund all of the devices you talked about to a certain amount, or devices that you don't fund but you still make clients aware of them?
Right, that's a very good point. So, so the first part of the presentation with the smart home devices, all of those we provide, and many more. The robot arm and the Apple Vision Pro and the glasses, etc. Those we do not fund, but I think it's important for people to understand what is available out there, or soon to be available.
Yeah, and the amazing thing about technology, again, I'm showing my age here, but I remember when VCRs were really expensive.
Yes.
And so it's amazing how quickly Graeme has rejoined us and is laughing at me as we speak. But it's amazing how quickly things can drop in price, right? Because it becomes more readily available. So, you know, in the moment, something new comes out and maybe you can't afford it, and that's disheartening, but it never ceases to amaze how quickly things advance and how quickly things can drop in price. One of the challenges that you and I share is handwriting. And so if people go online and they go to your website and for some reason they have trouble filling out the application, can they do it over the phone with one of your staff members?
Absolutely, yes. That's an excellent question. So we have our online digital application that you could type out, but if that's a barrier, you can absolutely phone us, and somebody at our office will go through the entire application with you over the phone. Not a problem.
Okay. And I just wanted you to mention the Simon Cox competition again, and people are able to join that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. Join us on April 26th at the Blossom Center. We have a number of student projects that are already in the works, and we're constantly connecting students with our members, with peers. And so if you're interested in being a participant, send us an email, whether it's a volunteer or just to show up and see what students are designing. It always is remarkable to me how innovative students can be and creating solutions to everyday problems. So come check us out. And you can also visit our Simon Cox website, which there's a link on the Technology for Living website.
And I should also mention you're joining us today from Kelowna, but the day of the competition, if people come, they get to meet you in person.
Yes, absolutely. I will be there.
I will definitely. I love to see what's available. And for those who don't know, the Blossom Spinal Cord Center is located near a major Vancouver hospital. So it is one of the major research buildings in Vancouver. So that's where that competition is going to be. And if people wanted to watch the competition, do you know if it's going to be streamed or available after the 26th online?
I don't believe we're going to be streaming it, but there will be a lot of photos and videos shared after the event, for sure.
Okay, well, Ian, thank you very much for your time and joining us today. It is greatly appreciated, and you know that any questions that I have, I'm never shy of reaching out. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Okay. And that leads perfectly into our last presentation, speaking about forms and asking for help. We spent the day talking about where Tetra is located, kind of the staff that make up Tetra. We've heard from some of our great community partners all throughout the country. But now it's always good to go over, how do you ask for help? What does it mean to have a request for assistance? And what does that entail? And so I'd like to introduce again Sylvia Baliko, our national coordinator, to do our last presentation on getting help from Tetra. Sylvia?
Thanks, Eric. You can go next there, Edward. So you've seen some really cool things here today, and so I'm just going to go through the process for the Tetra Society. So if you can go next slide, please, Edward. There are two ways to connect with us. One is very simple. You go on our website, and there's a form to fill out with just some basic information, how to contact you and what you're looking for, or what barrier you're trying to overcome. And if you can't use a computer, you can always call us. I'm going to provide the 1-800 number, leave a message, we'll call back and we'll fill out the form together. You do not need any type of referral from your doctor or therapist or anyone. You are the client, and as long as you have a disability, then you can apply for a custom assistive device. Next slide, Edward. So if you do go on our website, the middle button there called Request Assistance is the one that you would hit. Next slide, Edward. And this is what will appear. Tetra Request for Assistance. This is just the first page. I think there's like 6 pages, but it's really easy to fill out. If you don't know what chapter is nearest you, there is an option to select Not Sure. But if you live in Toronto or Halifax or Winnipeg, you can select that chapter. We need your name, your email, your address, etc., etc. You can also include on there a therapist's name. Like I said, the therapist can fill it out for you, or like I said, you don't need a referral from anyone, so you can do this all by yourself. Next slide. There we all are again. So what happens once you push the submit button on the form? Well, one of us, so below Steve in the Atlantic, myself here in Central Ontario, Crystal out in the Prairies, or Cheryl out in BC, will email you within 24 hours to say we got your request, and then they're going to tell you which chapter you're going to be connected to. So my email will say, thank you, Mary, for submitting your request for assistance. I've included the Hamilton chapter coordinator, Nancy Tima, and she will be contacting you to talk about the process and about your device to find out what you would like to have solved. And then I leave it up to Nancy then, which is the next slide, the chapter coordinator. And you can see here a little map of Tetra Nation. We go from all the way from Newfoundland, St. John's, Newfoundland, all the way out west to Victoria Island in BC. And if you don't live in those exact areas, Eric has also already stated that you just contact the chapter nearest you, and we'll do our best to get the device built for you and perhaps shipped, or you can pick it up, but we will figure it out. So you will be contacted by the local coordinator then, and they will either email you or most likely call you to ask you what barrier you would like to overcome, and just go over the Tetra process with you, because they are volunteers. So some of them do go on vacation. Some volunteers also are working on projects already. But eventually the local chapter coordinator will connect you with the right volunteer or volunteers, it could be a team, when they are available. Next slide. So step 4 is the volunteer will contact you directly because they want to find out what barrier you want to overcome in your daily living, in maybe school, work, a hobby you may have, sports, maybe you're interested in music, and they're going to have that initial discussion with you. Then the volunteer will collaborate on a design concept with you. So if you have a solution or seen something that you like, you can also involve anyone else you want, your parents, your neighbor, your doctor, your therapist, and all of you can be in this discussion. Next slide. So you can see up in the right-hand corner there's a design concept for a racing wheelchair to train in the winter, because unfortunately in Canada there is snow and ice. So you would lose time in training if you were not able to train in the winter, so you could set that up. And once the volunteer has the approval from the client, so you're always in control, then the construction phase begins. So if you say, yep, that's the training design that I like for my training wheelchair there, my racing wheelchair, then they will start the construction. The volunteer may call you or contact you several times. They may come across an issue or a question, and to ensure that the end result of the project suits your needs exactly. And of course, once they have the build done, they will arrange a meeting to come and deliver and install the custom assistive device for you. Next slide. So the client is in contact, can contact the volunteer or chapter coordinator if after it's been installed, it's not working exactly the way they need it to suit their needs. So we do come back. We do not leave you hanging there with something that doesn't work. We've been with some families for 20 years as the children grow, to adapt many projects as the child grows. So we're here for the long term. And once you are satisfied with your device, it is reported as completed to us, and then you will get a survey in the email from your local regional coordinator 60 days afterwards, because we want to give you some time to use your device, and we would like some feedback, good or bad. But this feedback helps us improve our service. It also helps us with grant writing to get funding, and it also gives the volunteer an opportunity to see how it's working for you, because sometimes they don't hear anything after the project is completed. Next slide, please, Edward. Client's voice. This is very important at the Tetra Society. The client drives the project from beginning to end. So you fill out the form, or you have someone fill it out for you. You give input on the design. You consult the volunteer. You try out the device and provide feedback. And you contact us if it needs to be changed to suit your needs. So you're always in control. And that's the beauty of this service, I think, is that far too much other people speak for you. And I think it's time that your voice is heard. Go ahead, Edward. The last one is the website, the form, and the 1-800 number, which I'm going to post here in the chat. You can also reach out to us. We will certainly get that information to you as well. So any questions? Ooh, I think everybody's fallen asleep.
Maybe your presentation was so thorough. There's just no questions to ask.
There you go. It is very simple. It's a beautiful community service model, and the results are amazing.
You stop sharing. So just three things I wanted to mention. We even still get requests by fax machine. So our head office, again, for those who don't know, we are located in Vancouver, but again, Sylvia is in Ontario. You've met the other regional coordinators, and do go online and see our gizmo, because everybody's listed on the back. But even if you send in a physical copy, we do have a fax machine here at the head office. I want to remind everybody, there's no cost associated with the device. If you like it and want to make a donation, we are true believers that every dollar helps. So, whatever you give, we're grateful for, but it's not expected. And I would say anyone who's benefited from Tetra, you're all ambassadors of what we do. So a great gift that you can give is tell others about your project, or if you're a volunteer, help us recruit other people like yourself. So never underestimate being your own ambassador. And then lastly, you certainly can be a lifelong Tetra client. I should mention that even Sam himself has a project right now currently with Tetra. So he still, our very own founder still submits requests, and you can certainly have more than one device. It is, as Sylvia said, you kind of get to prioritize. If you had multiple requests at once, you could prioritize what is the most important to you and the volunteer might say, let's finish this project first before going to the next one. And, something we do believe is we want to give every project a project number and make sure that everything created is safe. But I just wanted to thank Sylvia and my entire team for all the work that they've put together. Everybody in their own region came up with their own presentations and found our guest speakers for today. And this certainly could not be done without everybody's support. So I'm greatly appreciative of that. And thanks again, Edward, for running our tech. And reminder that the entire TetraCon will be available on our social media. And speaking of which, continue to check out our Facebook pages. Maybe, Sylvia, you can talk about that a little bit. I know you really push the content of what we're doing out there, and every region kind of shares what's happening through Facebook.
Definitely. I know in Ontario, we have almost 1,000 people following. We post every completed project from every chapter on it, as well as any information to do with a disability. So we post things from Spinal Cord Injury Ontario, the MS Society, the CP Society, the Brain Injury Society, from the different rehab centers. And we even help people out if they want to recycle something they may have purchased or they're looking for something. So joining our Facebook pages across the country is really great. I don't know if the regional coordinators are still on, but perhaps they can all put their links in so that people living in those regions can join the Facebook pages. So I'm going to put the Ontario one in right now. It's a really cool place to go. So that's in the chat from Ontario. If the other regional coordinators want to put in the Facebook pages for their region, that would be great.
And I did want to mention, because I know we've had people joining us all the way from the States, any request that comes from the US comes into our head office. Any US request is covered by Vancouver, and we would do our best to take a look at it and definitely try and help virtually as much as we can. So again, the toll-free number is 1-877-688-8762, and that rings right in my office. Or if you leave a voicemail, it's sent confidentially through my email. So
yeah, I posted that in the chat, Eric.
Sure. Awesome. So just in case people didn't get a chance to scroll, and I did just want to, Edward, can you put in the chat? I just want to make sure that we always establish the connection, just the disabilityfoundation.org website. You might have noticed this kind of snazzy red and white logo. When I've turned my camera off, I have that kind of red and white with a kind of a wavy kind of logo, or next to Sylvia's name when her camera's off. You've seen that there. Sylvia's done that, so you can see it. That is the logo of the Disability Foundation. So when you think of the Disability Foundation, that is the umbrella organization that helps pay for the administrative costs and provides administrative support to Tetra. And there is other programs. If you go to disabilityfoundation.org, you'll see all the other affiliated societies. When I read the land acknowledgement this morning, I talked about Tetra and its affiliated societies. And so just in case you're wondering why, when some people turn their camera off, are we seeing this kind of red and white logo, that is the logo of the Disability Foundation. That is the umbrella organization that Tetra falls under. But Tetra is its own nonprofit, and is a registered nonprofit, and is Canada-wide, and again, even has chapters into the States. I want to thank everybody for attending today and giving of their time. I know it's quite a commitment. I want to thank all of our coordinators and board members like Mary Jo and Keith McDonald who attended, and Dr. Leonard Lye, and everybody who made time. Thank you again to Will Wang of Leafi at Home, our sponsor for TetraCon. It's been our pleasure to put this on for you. We look forward to hearing from you, sending your requests. We look forward to seeing the successfully completed projects that come in through our online database. Again, all of that is available through tetrasociety.org. And thank you so much for attending. Really appreciate people coming out. And to my colleagues, if I've missed anything that should have been said, please feel free to jump in now.
Nope, you've done a great job, Eric.
Okay. So I hope, every year we want to make it better. Again, sorry that we couldn't get the sound of one of our presenters, but definitely thank you again to Habitat for Humanity as well for what they did. And we'll do our best to make TetraCon next year's even better and with more exciting topics. So thank you to everybody. At that note, we will sign off the Zoom, but appreciate every one of you.